There we are. It's always that bit where you're waiting for people to have you messaged us.
Oh, no. I don't know. Type it in the chat.
I fucking got the caps lock stuck again.
There you go, I messaged.
No one's just going to pop in. Okay. Hello, welcome to Wren Rhodes. I'm Rhodes.
I'm Wren.
And tonight we're discussing various news events that are currently going on around the world. Titanic, it's Titanic Day.
It is.
Today and tomorrow particularly, because it sank at an awkward time. And Dion here's got some stories to tell you about her experience at uni, her personal experience getting the vaccine, and stuff involving the future. Some really good news.
Yeah, so first off, I do want to just briefly explain why we haven't really streamed in a while. That's my bad. I've been just ridiculously busy with uni work and dissertations.
Dickhead.
Yes, she's not wrong. Yeah, with uni work and all that kind of stuff. So every time we come to doing a stream, it's always like, oh, maybe tomorrow, maybe next week, you know. So yeah, it's just a bit. It's unfortunate, but shit happens. Anyway, so in recent news, I got accepted for a teacher training role. I just stop typing in the chat, you ass. But yeah, so I have been given a conditional offer for a teacher training placement, so I will hopefully
Hooray.
yeah, woo. So hopefully once I graduate this year and then do a year of training, I will be a qualified teacher with a PGCE, so that's cool. That's also part of the reason why we haven't streamed a lot, because I've been just so crazy doing interviews and various other things, making lesson plans.
Yeah, could you go into detail exactly what the pressure is like the things you have to do?
Oh.
Because it might sound simple, like, you know, streaming is only a thing you do in the evening and then you can just go about with your life and do everything else, but it's not quite that simple.
No, I mean, for us too, it's like, obviously, I need to make the thumbnails, we need to pick what we're doing, and then we need to be
We made this thumbnail in like 10 minutes.
Yeah,
I mean like the paperwork and the modules and whatnot, you know, the tests and, you know, because at one point you had like 4 exams back to back, like in a month. It was crazy.
Yeah, in January I had just a ton of exams, and then in February I had some assignments, and then at the beginning of March I had 4 assignments that were due in within a week of each other. I had my blog, I had an essay, I had a case study. It was crazy. It just, for some reason, they like to pile on a load of assignments right before the Easter break. So they're like, oh, well, you can have a holiday over the Easter break, but really over the Easter break you're working on your dissertation.
Have you even told them what exactly you're studying and where you plan to apply it?
I'm fairly certain we have spoken on previous streams that I'm studying marine zoology.
Marine zoology. Okay.
And yeah,
I
obviously
guess you should just move on to like, what was it again?
Oh, I was going to moan about how students have been treated during the pandemic. Are you okay?
Yeah, you can go into the full thing. No, I'm retarded, of course.
Behave.
No, peak autism tonight. For real, I am actually autistic. I'm not joking about that.
Yeah, no, she is actually neurodivergent.
I know people do like to joke about it, but it is actually a real thing that some people actually have.
But yeah, you're like legit neurodivergent, so. But yeah, bring on topic of being a student and
That's
all.
why I can use the R slur and it not really be like, I don't know. It's still a problem. You guys should cancel me. I'm terrible. Whatever.
But no, so
I'm gonna regret saying that.
Yeah, you probably are. But
it's the nerves. It does you in.
Yeah, no offense, but you're like low-key really annoying when you get nervous.
So anyway, yeah. So April last year we went into lockdown for the first time due to the new novel coronavirus.
Well, actually, I think it was the end of March. But same difference.
So how did it affect you initially? Like, just go through the full timeline. Just we've
The
got like a whole year of just
You want the full timeline?
absolute shit.
Okay. Well, the full timeline actually begins.
Back-to-back bollocks.
The full timeline actually begins in the September of my second year, because I was really ill, and then near the end of that year we had a bunch of teaching strikes, which meant we lost out on...
By the way, I'd like to add, we normally do support unions.
Oh no!
Just gonna have that out there.
Oh no!
Although some of our teachers really didn't need a union, they were just rich pricks that were after any excuse.
It's not that. Like, I fully support teachers striking. It's the fact that we as students didn't get reimbursed the money for the lessons we didn't get.
But there was that high-profile story of somebody in your uni in particular that was on the take. I don't know if you can name them personally, but you know what I'm talking about.
No, I'm not gonna. But yeah, so that kind of sucked. But then, not long after that, we had another set of strikes in the second semester, which again we weren't reimbursed for, and then COVID and lockdown, and we basically had no lessons, which again we got none of our money back for that, even though we paid thousands of pounds for it.
Mm-hmm.
And then our third year, obviously my entire third year at uni has been online, and I've paid $9,000 for that.
That's astonishing. As a lot of the older viewers, I'm going to pretend they're there because they're not really there. We've only got 2 people watching, and I pretty much doubt that's even true, to be honest. Your brother's probably one of them, and the other one's probably a ghost. But yeah, so some old boomer gammon type tells you that there's no magic money tree. Your response?
Well, they've got
Do you think it's fair that you were fucked over by the academic system?
Absolutely not. Especially when, can we just consider the fact that they are planning on building and fixing up another royal yacht to commemorate Prince Philip dying, which is costing millions of pounds.
We'll get onto that. By the way, does everyone like the thumbnail? This is actually I can't say, but it was a great idea creating it. So some of it was me, some of it was somebody else.
An unnamed person.
If anyone's ever played House of the Dead 2, then you'll get the,
But yeah, so
to be honest, if anyone thinks I'm a terrible person for making fun of like a wealthy millionaire that died, then
a wealthy millionaire who was nearly 100 years old.
Really don't care. Like, really, I don't care.
Let's be fair. He was 2 months off being 100. Okay, he's had his time. And I can say that genuinely.
I consider it like peak British humour, to be honest, to make fun of like bloody royal family dying.
Yeah. But yeah, in terms of the whole magic money tree thing, they've always got it for when they want it for things of their own interest, but they never have it when it comes to students or the NHS.
It's always like unite the people, and then it's like it's all like unite the people whenever like a royal family member dies, or we have some like white person that needs veneration. But then like the second like pretty much anything else happens, they're always trying to rip people apart, Brexit being a prime example. So it's basically unity followed by division, unity, division. By the way, did we tell you we're Britain? It's just that's the story of Britain. Divinity.
But in
divided.
terms of how students have been treated during the pandemic, particularly university students, because obviously students from all areas, primary, secondary, college, we've all been screwed a little bit. But uni students have really had to take the brunt of this. Like, I remember when Boris Johnson gave one of his announcements about things going on in education in terms of COVID rules, he didn't even say anything about university students. They were just forgotten. Which was... it left us all in a really confusing situation, especially given the fact that a lot of university students, obviously, we don't study in the local area where we live.
It's like I always say, the government should really care about its students of the time, because the students of today will be the teachers of tomorrow. So I think the Tories... I don't like them very much. There we go. That's not TOS, is it? I just, that's one of the examples of them just really...
But yeah, so...
It's I don't know. Like I don't know if it's just not caring or if it's actually like grievous. Like they deliberately don't want to get it.
I don't
they're
know.
just
But yeah, I mean,
very annoying.
not only were a lot of us who were based, because obviously I was in England because I've been staying at Mama Miles's place, because
You sure you want to name them?
they didn't know what my mum's called.
Fair enough.
Well, one of them does. One of them
I
does.
don't think Miles is like an internet savvy like edgelord, so
No.
he won't be getting any like calls.
But yeah, I've been staying at, let's say, the family's place, because they didn't want me being locked down on my own in Wales, basically.
That's the only reason I got to see you.
Yeah. Otherwise, I would have been trapped in Wales.
For a while, I couldn't see you, but then after a while, it was like we're bubbled.
Yeah, and I had to give you your
Christ for that.
jabs. So.
Oh yeah, that's going well. How long has it been since last stream? Because I think I've had two. I think I've had two since then. Two more. So my testosterone has been suppressed for an entire year at this point.
Yeah.
Maybe a bit more. I'm definitely getting a lot more breast growth than recently. That's a big change. So where else are you going with this experience?
Well,
where are we now in the timeline?
Where are we now in the timeline?
Yeah.
What we are at now in the timeline is
through.
The situation where...
Is this like just before Christmas when the first lockdown started lifting?
Yeah, this is the situation where...
Interesting question.
Shut up,
Would
Siri.
you shut that fucker up?
Sorry, that's Siri. She's yelling at me.
Like, fuck Apple.
No, this is... I mean... yeah. But anyway, this is the situation where those of us who were in England at the time, but like me, were studying at a university in Wales, could not physically return back to the flats that we were paying money for because of COVID rules. So I've been paying £500 a month on a place that I wasn't even allowed to move back to and live in. And what did my landlord give me? A 10% reduction.
Yeah, how wonderful.
Like, wow, thanks. £150 back for a place that I can't even live in.
It rhymes with Sillatine.
Like, I get that landlords,
The microphone's there, by the way. You're supposed to talk into it, not like next to it, beside.
Oh, shut up, girl.
It's the directional mic, You're supposed to...
I talk loud enough for them to hear me, it's fine.
Hang on, just gotta type something in chat.
You could at least, like, capitalize the first letter of my name.
I don't know. I didn't seem to think so. I think chat disagrees.
I don't know. I mean, Tez might think I'm
So yeah, your landlords are like proper dicks. Next.
Yeah, it's like, I get that landlords have a source of income, yada yada yada. But...
Do they though?
Well...
I'm just fucking with you.
I'm trying to take
Are they people?
Trying to take a centrist view on it here. I get that the properties are their source of income, but at the same time, it was just complete and utter BS to make me pay for a place that I wasn't even allowed to live in.
Tenants are their source of food. Sorry.
Rude.
I hate landlords.
But yeah, I mean, to cut a long story short, students have been completely and utterly fucked over by the government during this pandemic, especially university students.
Yep.
So.
Students, workers, particularly the nurses.
Oh yeah, don't even get me
Meanwhile,
started.
we celebrate Prince Philip.
Yeah, again, just harking back to the Prince Philip thing. Like, I get it, he died, people liked him, yada yada. But to spend millions and millions of pounds on a new royal yacht when the NHS got a pay rise of the equivalent of a meal deal once a week is ridiculous. One meal a day a week is what they got as their pay rise.
Yeah, imagine how many kids you could feed with that money.
Honestly, it's like again, it's the whole magic money tree doesn't exist.
Yeah, until it does.
Unless it's for something
until
they
Prince
want.
Philip dies, and then it's like, wait, here's your tree, son.
Schrodinger's magic money tree. It simultaneously doesn't exist.
Which side do you want up it first? They're not going to know what I'm on about.
No. But yeah, so there's that.
I think that's about it, really.
Yeah, that's about it for the student stuff and about Prince Philip. So
get your notes. Where's the?
Well, the next thing I'm moving on to is my vaccine experience.
Of course. Which particular one did you have? I think there's 3 going around at the moment.
I had the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, which...
Yeah, they've cancelled it for everybody my age.
Under 30.
The only reason Dion here got it is because she's immunocompromised, which means that it was kind of very important.
Yeah.
You can carry on.
But yeah, so I, full disclosure, I'm overweight and I've got a shitty immune system. That's why I got it. Don't fucking shake your head at me. But yeah, so I had the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. Obviously, I'm sure people who have been keeping up to date with the news are aware there have been links, actually also links to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine too.
I've heard that's been having rumblings and
of very rare blood clots. Now, I would like to point out, I was doing some maths and doing some research, and it's, if you take a sample of, say, hypothetically 10 million people who've had the vaccine, about...
Just carry on, it's fine, I'm just...
Okay, she's fanning around with stuff. If you take a hypothetical sample of 10 million people, only 40 of those people could be estimated to have these rare blood clots. And of those 40, only 10 would potentially be fatal.
I haven't got room to put it in the title. I'll tell them what we're doing in a minute. It's
yeah. So, when you consider about 40 people within 10 million of getting these blood clots from this vaccine, I just want to point out to people that don't listen to fear-mongering about it, like, oh, if you get the vaccine, you're going to have blood clots.
No, the truth is they're putting, like, nanobots in the bloodstream.
Shut up, no, we don't.
And it's,
no misinformation.
I'm just fucking with you.
Yeah, no misinformation is even as a joke. I don't permit it.
Imagine a government being that useful, like...
But yes, so I know for some people they're probably concerned about this whole blood clot fiasco, but honestly, you have a statistically far more high risk of getting blood clots, say, if you're an assigned female at birth person on birth control. So I think it's either 1 in 100 or 1 in 1,000, I would have to double check, chance of developing blood clots from being on birth control. So to not take a vaccine because of a 40 within 10 million chance is stupid, in all honesty. So yeah, I've only had my first dose so far. I am due my second one in a couple weeks' time. It's sometime in May. I'll get a text beforehand telling me. But yeah, I mean, in terms of my actual personal experience with being vaccinated, it was quite streamlined, actually. They had a bunch of stewards around the building and everything was labelled. You came in, you sanitised your hands, they told you to follow the arrows. It was all a one-way system. People were social distancing, they had masks on, where appropriate, obviously. Went in, they asked me some questions, have you had any COVID symptoms, yada yada. Got jabbed, again, one-way system all the way out, came outside, and I went home. I was out for maybe 20 minutes.
Okay, well now it's probably a good idea to tell them that you probably will feel a bit sick afterwards, but it's no problem.
Yeah,
it's fine. You'll be okay.
I'm gonna go into that now. So yeah, as I mentioned, I have a pretty bad immune system. So my body's reaction to the vaccine can be considered quite the baseline because I already don't have a very good immune system. So I'll admit, within a couple hours, my arm was pretty sore, pretty tender to the touch, quite warm, but wasn't too painful. Although waking up the next day, my arm was quite stiff, I felt quite achy. I had, sort of like a bunged up head, I was just a bit disorientated, a bit tired. That lasted for basically 24 hours. The next day I woke up and I was virtually fine again.
Bear in mind, Dion is really the kind of person that gets these kind of colds 4 times a year. She is prone to, they are prone to quite a lot of illness.
Yeah, I do get sick quite a lot. Whenever there's a flu going around, I almost always get it.
If you're the kind of person who doesn't get sick very often and you're quite immunely healthy, you probably won't even have any symptoms afterwards. You'll be fine.
But yeah.
I'm not sure if I will be though. Speaking of vaccines though, they've now cancelled that AstraZeneca one for under 30s. So
they've not cancelled it. They've paused it.
Because I'm not immunely compromised. I'm relatively healthy per se. They, because of the whole hubbub about all the risk of blood clotting, they've basically anyone younger than 30 can't get it.
No,
so
the only one that
I'm gonna have to find a different one.
I'm gonna have to clarify that for a sec.
Okay.
The only one that they have paused currently that is available in the UK is the AstraZeneca. It's not been cancelled entirely. It's just on pause, awaiting further research.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right.
And there is still the option that even if you and other people under 30 can't have the AstraZeneca, you can also have the Pfizer, and I believe there's another one that's out at the moment as well.
Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, AstraZeneca.
Johnson & Johnson isn't approved in this country yet.
Is it not?
No.
Is it Germany where they're doing that?
Johnson & Johnson is America.
I know they're an American company.
Yeah, America and Belgium, I believe. But that has also been put on pause in America because of the blood clots. So they're just doing more research into it. But again, I don't want people to get afraid, like thinking that, oh, I'm going to get the vaccine and then I'm going to feel really sick and then I'm going to get a blood clot and die.
I mean, we should really bust all these like bullshit conspiracy theories, but there's also like people get worried about these little symptoms that you might get, and it's like,
it's really,
it really is like you'd have to be the most unlucky person on the planet. You would have more risk of getting like electrocuted on your way to the clinic, you know what
honestly, funnily enough, you as somebody who's on hormone replacement therapy is a higher risk of getting blood clots than having the vaccine.
Oh, cheers! I'm gonna die. Right?
No, I'm just saying
No.
from a statistical point of view.
I think even me with the medication I'm taking, I'm probably gonna be fine. I'm gonna be fine, you know.
No, what I mean is that your medication you're currently taking is more likely to give you blood clots than a vaccine.
Yeah, but I mean, what are the chances? Again, what was the statistic?
Yeah, exactly.
Was it like 6 in 6 million?
What, the statistic of the blood clots for the vaccine?
You said something like a 6. So.
No, it's 40 in 10 million.
Well, yeah, see, that's...
Yeah, it's crazy that many people are freaking out. I see so many boomers on Facebook who are like, it's gonna give you blood
Facebook really
clots.
is a breeding ground for some of the like most toxic, like deliberate misinformation, basically.
Yeah.
And it's all like playing in favor of people that would want to turn you into a puppet. And it's ironic that they call us puppets and they say that we're sheeple and this, that, and the other, when they just want to turn you into their own personal, like, well, sheeple, basically. You're just becoming another kind of puppet for somebody else's goals.
I'm just trying to think other information for the vaccine. What I will do also is just briefly explain how the vaccines work.
Oh yeah, this is good. She told me this. I love non-binary people. All of you are valid.
Trust me, she really does love non-binary people.
I have no hatred in my heart whatsoever.
She's proven it to me quite a few times. But yeah, so in terms of how the vaccine works, I have seen so much misinformation on this and it's honestly driving me crazy. This is not the type of vaccine where you are injected with a de-attenuated or a dead version of.
Fuck does that mean?
It means what? It means deactivated. So deactivated. This is not the type of vaccine where you are injected with a deactivated or dead version of the pathogen at hand. This is a type of vaccine where they use a protein.
Aren't they using like a flu that is quite not like brilliant as such? It's kind of like a flu that's kind of in a low kind of.
It depends on the vaccine. Let me explain.
I'll leave you to it.
Yeah, this is where I come in. Some of the vaccines do use a deattenuated or dead version of another type of virus, which can trigger immune response and help give immunization towards COVID. But the way the AstraZeneca works specifically is they actually use a gene code, I believe it to be an RNA code, not a DNA code, from spike proteins which appear on the surface of the COVID molecule. So if you are getting the AstraZeneca vaccine or have had the AstraZeneca vaccine specifically, you're not actually having anything to do with the whole virus injected into you. You're not being injected with the virus. You're not being injected with a dead version of the virus.
With things you read, some people would like you to believe that it's kind of like they're using another virus to kill another virus. So it's kind of like It's like that door theory, when you push a load of things through a door, and because there's so many things in the way of the door, nothing can get through, therefore stops the bad pathogen, so to speak. But from what you're saying, that's completely inaccurate with this particular vaccine.
It doesn't work. What this does is, like I said, they've used a gene code from a spike protein which appears on the surface of the COVID molecule, which you can kind of see in the thumbnail.
Yeah, apparently that's actually what it really looks
like.
I've always been a bit skeptical because I thought they were just doing like an artist's rendering, like they do with the court. When they do courts and they can't take photographs, so they draw like really cool pictures.
But no, that is an actual accurate image of what COVID looks like.
That's what some of you had in your body, and that's what you've been taking to your nans.
But yeah, that is in the thumbnail there. That is actually what the COVID molecule looks like under magnetic resonance imaging. So, pretty great. But yes, I just want to point out, because I see so many, again, boomer posts on Facebook where it's like, they're injecting you with the virus to stop you from getting the virus. That's just stupid. That's just going to make you sick. And it drives me crazy. It makes you sick for about a day, at possibly 48 hours at
you have to
max.
ask the question, don't you? Like, would you rather be a little bit iffy for like 12 to 24 hours or die or have the risk of death? Because from what we've seen of this virus this last year, we thought at the beginning it was just the old people, and some people were like, oh, who cares then, it's fine, I can go out. But it really isn't that case. Like the more it spreads, the stronger it gets, and then it can just target more and more of the population, whether they be young or old.
But yeah, so like I said, you will likely feel iffy for a little bit. No, you are not being injected with the virus. No, it is not going to give you COVID. The vaccine, regardless of what people want to believe, will not give you COVID.
The data speaks for itself, because since the what's the figure we've got? Is it something like 26 million at this point of the population vaccinated?
I would have to pull it up. Hang on.
All right, yeah, give me an official stat.
Yeah,
but whatever that is, like yesterday, I think we only had like 31 deaths in the 24-hour period of like, and when you consider the fact that 2 months ago that was in the hundreds, I just find it a little bit. It just correlates too well for it to be a coincidence,
Yeah.
Like that had to have had an effect. So.
As of 10 hours ago, more than 32.
It validates my theory that a lot of people are talking a lot of bullshit about the vaccine being harmful when it isn't. It's clearly.
So, as of 10 hours ago, more than 32 million people in the UK have had at least one dose of the vaccine.
Yeah.
Some of those have had two.
I find that the data just speaks too clearly for anything to make sense anymore, with regards to what some of these Facebook randos are saying.
And again, I mean, I don't necessarily like to pull the card all the time, but this is one area where pulling the biological scientist card helps, because I cannot absolutely stand boomers on Facebook who are like, oh, I read a
Some
post
of these people claim to be doctors, but I mean, Dion knows personally that it's so easy to get like a certificate saying you're a big intelligent doctor, when you really aren't.
A lot of those are people who are like homeopaths.
Yeah, you can become a doctor
like
on the
home
internet
remedies. They're not actually.
It's like I've seen my fair share of like Miles Power videos. I don't know if you watch him, but yeah, there's a lot of quacks, and they know big words and they know how to scare you. That's about it. They don't know any actual medicinal like theory, basically.
Yeah. So again, long story short of that is, yes, there is risk of blood clots to an extent, but it's 40 within 10 million, so you're more likely to get a blood clot from eating certain types of food, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
No, the vaccine...
And how often do you get that in the news being a big deal?
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, the vaccine will not give you COVID. That is not what it does. It simply exposes you to something either related to COVID, such as the proteins, or a deactivated version of COVID, purely to trigger your immune response. It will not actually give you COVID. That is an absolute fact. Regardless of what anybody wants to tell you, it is an absolute fact that having a vaccine against COVID-19 is not going to give you COVID.
Okay, so I don't know about you lot, but COVID is a bit of a depressing topic, and we've had our fill of making fun of Princess
Philip.
Oh yeah. Oh man, everyone's at it today, aren't they, with the estrogen? Jesus.
Yeah.
That was a joke, by the way. I estrogen's quite good. I thoroughly recommend it.
I personally disagree.
Especially if you're a child living in where was it that they banned it recently in America? Albuquerque or somewhere bumfuck nowhere.
I think it begins with an A. Yeah.
Yeah, they banned like trans kids from having any happiness. Basically, it's just a ban on all happiness because we want to protect you, even though by not giving you medical help, you're basically just there's gonna be a lot of suicides. There's gonna be a lot of trans kids that are just gonna be like, you know what, this world fucking hates me. And it's sad.
It's interesting that you were talking about
COVID
being a depressing topic, and now we're here.
But like
that, this is even more depressing.
I just thought, you know, I can't do fuck all about it. I'm just a British trans woman, but I don't know. It puts it out of my mind if I get it out there. You know, just I don't like it, and the sooner that someone changes it, the better. And it won't stand. Like there's too many of us trans people in the world for it to stand. It will end. You know, we've come too far to let shit like that become a pandemic within itself. You know, and I know that's quite rich coming from where I live. You know, Turf Island. But yeah, we can't let that crap spread. Where was I going?
You were talking about COVID being a depressing topic.
We're moving away from COVID. COVID is like, should we move on to Titanic?
This is going to have to be your part of the segment, but I will be doing research. Yes.
We need you to pull up things because I'm not intelligent.
So
okay,
talk about the Titanic.
The Titanic, the White Star Line. As most of you will know, today is the day. Well, tonight is the night that Titanic, after its first maiden voyage, will soon be meeting the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. So, should we have a rough timeline? When was construction finished?
Give me a second.
Is there I don't know, Wikipedia will probably have enough information. So basically it would have set off from Southampton after collecting cargo and the passengers. By the way, I'm not talking about the movie. Everyone always talks about the movie in 1997. The movie's alright, but it's not the real story. The real story is actually a lot more rich and full of information. My head's going a bit. No. I just find that the details are a lot better poring over, really. The film, as long as that film there's just a lot more you can get from reading about the actual thing it's based on. So it left Southampton on the 10th. Would it be the 10th? From which point it spent a couple of days at sea. We need to talk about the fire. There was a fire on the boat, and we have conflicting theories. Cause,
there's a couple different theories for that.
Yeah, because you believe that it started during construction.
No, not during construction. No, basically, the current main theory of why the Titanic was so vulnerable to the iceberg is because there was a fire in the boiler room that caused damage to the metal. Well,
that's actually proven.
That
we just don't know about what exact time the fire would have.
There are some theories that suggest this happened during the voyage, but there are others that actually suggest it happened prior to the Titanic setting sail because of certain images that had surfaced a couple of years ago. Now, it's an interesting theory, and it could have happened, to be honest. So, Either way, there was a fire in the boiler room, and it completely messed up with the integrity of the ship. So.
Okay. So, despite that, the ship was sailing like an absolute trooper. They'd only lit 4 of the engines out of 6, and it was already travelling at quite the normal cruise speed, which indicates that if they'd lit all of them, that it would have been able to far surpass that. What's next in the timeline? I suppose people just want to get straight to the sinking, don't they? They just get to the good bit.
Hang on.
That's not how I see
I'm trying
it.
I'm trying to link it up to what time we are in right now.
But yeah, they did put the fire out. People are asking like, what was the fire going on all the time? Like, no, they did put it out eventually. Although there's a funny story, they had to move like most of the because there was a danger of the fuel being like in the fire, which obviously it's not supposed. Coal when it's in fire obviously will be disposed of. It will be spent and wasted. So they had to move it to the other side of the ship, and because of that, the ship had a list. So the ship was kind of like off center a little bit. Apparently, according to some of the passengers, it was noticeable. To others, it wasn't so much. But
in terms of the timeline,
do you want to go through the various ice warnings that they had?
Yeah.
That they didn't really take heed of.
I'm about to get into that. So in terms of the timeline, as of 9:20 p.m., so not so long.
Yeah,
ago,
that's a good idea. Why don't we tie it to right now? Like, because tonight's the night that it goes. So
I'm going through the two closest.
What time are we at?
It's 10:05.
Yeah.
So I'm going through the two closest
what's the Titanic doing at
events in the timeline.
5:10?
As of 9:20 p.m., captains.
No, 5:10. Sorry, I'm an idiot. Sorry.
Yeah, you're an idiot. As of
It's the nerves.
As of 9:20, so not so long ago, Captain Smith retired to his room, as this is actually a really important part of the story, to be honest.
Yeah.
As of 9:40, there were several iceberg warnings received by the wireless room, although these never made it to the bridge.
Well, there was a everyone's of the opinion that it wasn't. Most of them weren't taken very seriously because most of them were. By the way, we saw some ice. You know, just take it easy out there. But great ship, you're doing well. You know.
Yeah.
But basically, they were on track to arrive at was it New York? A day ahead of schedule, because they were due to arrive on the was it the 16th? That was the date that the voyage was supposed to end.
Yeah, but they were due to get there on the 15th.
But they were due to get there on the 15th. Obviously, we know that history tells us that didn't exactly pan out. And here we are right now with everyone sleeping soundly in their beds while an iceberg is hurtling at them at about 60 knots. So, what were the conditions of that night particularly? Why didn't they see the iceberg straight away? Because the conditions apparently were quite clear, so why didn't they?
I'm actually
it's a bit
not
of a weird
sure,
one, isn't
so
it? Because in the film, it really is like they were just chatting about random stuff. You know, the captain says, "I'm going off. I'll see you guys in the morning, whatever." And I said I wasn't going to talk about the movie, but fuck it. And then the two captains are just the captains. What would they be? Crewmen? Not crewmen. Everyone's seen the movie. They know who those guys are. I'm not exactly a historian. Never claimed to be. But those two, yeah, they start talking. They're watching off the bit at the front of the ship that you look over to find out what's in front and whatnot. You know, the lookouts. And it just kind of pops up out of nowhere. You know, just there's a bit of a cloud that moves out of the way and like, hello, here I am.
Yeah, I'm looking at the official.
At which point they get very scared and they go straight to the phone's telecom to like let everyone know in the boiler room we need to maneuver fast.
Yeah, I'm looking at the official stat. April 14th, 1912, 11:40 p.m. is where the iceberg hit, and there was only 37 seconds between the sighting of the iceberg and hitting it.
Yeah, and most people will know that's a very, very short window of time to be able to execute a maneuver. Bear in mind they were going at a very fast speed, meaning
and
that
the ship was massive.
If it was going slower, then maybe they might have managed, but the ship was speeding at full cruiser speed, pretty much. The 60 knots, wasn't it? At the time, did they slow down at all? Did they go even faster? I don't know. But yeah, we personally have the theory that if Titanic had simply decided to soldier on and hit the iceberg just plow right into it, the ship would have fared a bit better. Worst case scenario, we believe that the ship might have been stuck in the iceberg and it would have stopped it from moving, maybe stalled it to the point where they would have to pretty much evacuate the ship and have the manoeuvres. Basically, it wouldn't have sunk, though. It would have remained afloat.
It was 23 knots, by the way.
23 knots. Why the fuck did I say 60 knots, then?
I don't know, because you're a dumbass. But yeah, 23.
I heard at one point it was going at 60 knots, but yeah, maybe this slowed down a bit.
It says here.
What is 60 knots, by the way? Is that like, are we talking like light speed? Have I just really like shown myself up?
Maybe, but 23 knots is the maximum recorded top speed of the Titanic, and that equates to a little more than 26 miles per hour.
23 knots is still like quite fast for
26 miles per hour.
It's quite fast for something that's in the ocean. I mean, you know. So yeah, I don't suppose when you're in like a spot like that though, you don't have much time to think, so you're more prone to making stupid decisions. Like how I'm like streaming right now and my brain's just melting because I'm nervous. So yeah, they try and swerve. They fuck that up, and the ship basically just gets completely messed up as it like scrapes against the side of the iceberg. At which point, normally the Titanic it's built to survive a couple of the lower compartments being flooded, like 4 or so, but unfortunately I think it was 6 that got completely flooded as soon as the iceberg hit. Meaning that there was no going back. The ship was irretrievable. They didn't know this at that point, obviously. In fact, I think there was like a good half an hour where they didn't know really what action to take. The captain and the rest of the crew were like busy.
Hang on.
Investigating the situation, basically.
Timeline. So as I said, 11:40 p.m. iceberg struck. It wasn't until 12:05, so 25 minutes, that crew were ordered to prepare the lifeboats and to get the passengers in them. 25 minutes.
At this point, everyone was being knocked up and, like, you know, woken up to head to the deck to await. And obviously everyone knows the famous rule of men and women, women and children first. We've got an interesting story about that in a minute. It's going to be quite eye-opening. I read about it the other day, and it really is quite a fascinating tale. We can go into that now if you like.
Well, let me just run through the rest of the timeline, just quickly.
All right, yeah.
We're not going to be on here until like 3 a.m. So it wasn't until 40 minutes after the order for the lifeboats to be prepared was the first one lowered into the water. So again, pretty long ass time.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wasn't until 2:18 a.m. that the Titanic just finally snapped in half.
Yeah, that's a lot of people wonder, like, they watch the film and they're like, how the hell does that happen? Like, there was no... the thing is, the water was sinking in from the front because that's where the iceberg hit, like the side. As you can see on the thumbnail, you'll see the side that's there. That's pretty much where the Titanic hit. It was one of those two sides, but basically it just splintered big holes into the side. So the water was coming in from the front. I believe it's called starboard, right?
What the?
The starboard bow. Is it the bow or starboard?
It's bow and stern.
Bow and stern, yeah. So
Port and starboard
it was just leaking right into the stern, and there wasn't much stopping it. Meaning that the ship was carrying so much water in minute after minute, it would just get heavier and heavier. And you know, water is quite heavy.
Incredibly heavy.
Yeah, not very much when you've got a handful, but when you've got like tons of it just seeping in with minute after minute, the ship would be carrying a tremendous level of pressure after only like 10 minutes of the sinking.
Just briefly want to explain that. For every milliliter of water is equivalent to a gram. So that means...
And there would be a lot more than that pouring into the ship.
Yeah, so that means every 1,000 milliliters, so every litre of water is equivalent to a kilogram.
And even I believe the ship is made of was it steel or something tougher?
I believe it was steel.
Yeah, even steel can't handle that kind of pressure. So obviously the ship would start to sink sort of front first. So the bow of the ship would be sort of getting closer to the water as it did in the film, obviously. By this point, the back end of the ship would be having less pressure exerted on it, but because there's more pressure at the front, it would be tremendously unbalanced. So when it gets to the point that the back of the ship is completely in the air, there's just too much pressure in the middle, and something's got to give. So obviously the ship would snap as it did in the film, and people often ask like why did it just turn up and like go vertical, and it didn't quite. That's a thing that was in the film, but most people believe that because it was parts of the bow when it went under were tethered to the back, because some parts would have been like still attached. Just because of the nature of how it split, it doesn't mean all of it split all at once. Because of that, it pulled it down with it, but it doesn't mean that it went vertical straight away. It kind of went semi-vertical. Is there a way of explaining it without showing it?
Not really.
Because I can't. It's not like I can screen share it because my internet's not too good. But it didn't go completely vertical because few disasters are really that like aesthetically perfect, if you will. So when you watch the movie, it's very, very accurate, and James Cameron did a great job, but I don't think anything on this planet is really, certainly no movie is ever as accurate as, it's never perfect. There will always be like inconsistencies and things that they exaggerate or downplay. But yeah,
I'll just run through the rest of the timeline then. So yeah, as of 12:45, the first lifeboat gets lowered into the water. 2:18 a.m, Titanic snaps in half. 2 minutes later, completely sinks.
Is there the story about the one of the lifeboats nearly like being lowered on top of another one and they didn't notice?
No,
because that's a thing that happened.
This is just a pretty brief timeline.
Yeah.
So as of, like I said,
that would have been pretty terrifying, really. You thought you got off the Titanic, you think, oh, I'm safe,
and
thank God.
Drop
and then a bloody, lifeboat 4 coming down, and you're like, oh my God.
But yeah, so as of 2:18 a.m, the Titanic snapped in half. Literally only 2 minutes later.
Interesting fact. Not all the lifeboats actually made it off the Titanic. Some ended up being like stuck there. So they kind of went down with the ship, or they were jettisoned at the last minute and then just floated away with not many people on them. People were at the end of it. Basically, people were clawing at the very few lifeboats that were left.
Yeah. So after the Titanic sank, it wasn't until 2 hours later, at 4:10 a.m, that the Carpathia picked up the first survivors from their lifeboats.
Yeah, they were sending all sorts of messages to various ships. I don't have the names of them on hand. I don't know if you do. They were also sending up flares, and there was a ship to the in the distance sort of thing, right over the sort of the coastline of sorts. As far as the eye could see, you could see like a little dot in the ocean, which would have been a couple of 100 miles away, but certainly within distance enough to get a message to them and possibly get them to. Like I said, when you're in a desperate situation, you'll call for anybody's help, and they would have been the closest at the time. But some people do believe that was actually a mirage because of certain factors that were at play that night, involving I don't know. You're a person who does that kind of how science works when it comes to reflections on the water and stuff. But yeah, some people believe it's like a mirage, and people were wishfully like seeing it, wanting it to exist, but it actually didn't.
Yeah.
But there were ships nearby, but unfortunately some of them were either just flat out ignoring the signals. Although that's a controversial claim, because some people will tell me I'm talking bullshit there. A lot of the stuff around Titanic is sort of like, people will argue it's a very it's not very black and white, the Titanic community, because Titanic geek. Oh yeah.
I mean, you kind of are.
Only this month, only Titanic month. The rest of the year, I'm just kind of.
Yeah, she's having an autism month where she's hyperfixating on.
I like history,
Yeah.
And. And I don't really like poring over the tragedy and the sinking very much. I truly marvel at how great the ship looked, though. It really is iconic. It's an iconic ship. I love the funnels and the way it glistened, the black and the white and the bits of red, But anyway.
It was as of 8:30 a.m.
They were frantically like using this weird like sonar thing. I don't remember what technology they had at the time. I don't remember. I don't know, basically. But they were basically just tapping out whatever they could because they knew that it was inevitable. The ship would go under. When did the Carpathia decide to come over? I assume it was on the way by the time the sinking had proper set in.
Okay, breathe.
What?
Because I did already tell you that. Okay,
I kind of missed it. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. Okay, so as of 4:10 a.m.
4:10.
The Carpathia picked up the first survivors, and 4 hours and 20 minutes later, 4:20, the Carpathia picked up the last survivors.
That didn't really answer the question I was asking.
What was the question?
When did the Carpathia decide to turn around wherever it was heading to and head towards the Titanic?
Well, that's not on here.
Well, I guess we'll never know then. That's unless there's people in the chat that would like to tell us. Hintity hint hint. Hintity hint hint. No. We've got 2 watchers again. I know that. I don't know. Is Tess? Are you still watching this, Tess?
Yes, he is.
Because I mean, don't you have better things to do? Aren't you playing Persona or whatever? Does Tess know about the Titanic?
What about the Titanic?
I don't know. Is it? I guess he's seen the film.
Does he know that the Titanic existed? Yes.
Yeah, probably. I know that. I'm just saying, I don't know. I just thought, a kid his age would just want to carry on with getting no scope kill shots or whatever,
But yeah.
360 no scope.
But yeah, I am gonna jump to just the very, very last bit of the timeline, which happened on September 1st, 1985. The shipwreck of the Titanic was discovered.
Oh yeah, was this again? I don't know this. You're the one doing the research though, so I don't have to. Was it actually discovered by James Cameron? Because I know that he did an expedition down there before making the film to do his research.
No, it was discovered by.
I doubt it though, because obviously
Can I? Oh my God! Do you want me to answer the question?
Are you gonna let me talk? So between 1985 and 1997 is a long time. So that's the reason why I doubt it. You may now speak.
No, it was an expedition. It was an expedition by a guy called Robert Ballard and his team.
Robert. Oh yeah, no, that rings a bell actually. I'm pretty sure I've read that before. Robert Ballard.
Yeah, so September 1st, 1985.
That must have been pretty weird, because that thing had been lost for it would have been at that point 50 years.
63.
63 years, yeah. I don't do maths, evidently. But yeah, I mean, that must have been quite something.
Yeah, I remember, it was a couple of years ago now, I was reading some articles about how people reacted when the wreck was discovered, and
would have been oh shit.
Yeah, everybody was a bit everyone was a bit oh jeez, and then they started sending in them little submarines with hands.
I've heard that. Yeah, they were it wasn't all done completely honestly. To be honest, people nicking plates and then I imagine if that was today, people would be nicking plates and then selling them on eBay for thousands,
genuine Titanic
millions,
plate.
I haven't got a PS5, but I've got this Titanic special edition plate.
Titanic scalpers.
Yeah, some dude in a garage in Texas. I've got all these plates, Don't ask where I found them.
Slightly off cuff, I just want to complain. I had a tattoo done on my leg yesterday, and no position to sit in is comfortable.
Oh yeah.
Not a single one.
Anyone had a tattoo in chat? Come on.
Yeah, so basically, England opened up.
We're shit, but we want fans.
England opened up.
We want an audience.
England opened up literally 2 days ago.
Please indulge me.
Can I? Girl. So yeah, England opened up literally 2 days ago on the 12th of April. I booked in for a tattoo literally on the 13th, so the day after the country opened, I was like, get me in the parlour, bitch. So I had 3 tattoos done yesterday.
That's a hell of a way to blow off the cobwebs, eh?
Oh my god, yeah.
Okay, we need to go over Masafumi. I forget his name, but basically the story is this is an amazing Titanic story for people that are into the little nitty gritty stuff. The ones from the candy stick packs. What's he on about? I don't remember what I was on about 2 minutes ago.
Terry, what are you talking about? Candy stick packs.
Candy stick packs. Was it? I can't. I mean, I was talking about plates at one point. Where are you getting your fucking sticks from, dude?
Also, the guy's name is Masabumi Hosono.
Masabumi Hosono, yeah, okay. So, there is a story, right? There was only one Japanese person on the Titanic during its maiden voyage. Mr. Hosono.
Hosono-san.
So, I think you can probably just read that. It's okay, so Masabumi Hosono, he was born 15th of October 1870, and his death was 14th of March 1939. He was a Japanese civil servant. He was the only Japanese passenger on the RMS Titanic's disastrous maiden voyage. He survived the ship's sinking on the 15th of April 1912, but found himself condemned and ostracised by the Japanese public, the press and the government for his decision to save himself rather than going down with the ship. I'm pretty sure.
He's talking about the fake tattoo, like the stick-on tattoos you get from sweet packs.
It was a bit more grisly than that.
What, me?
I washed it this morning.
Yeah, woke up this morning. It was pretty gunky. It was nasty.
Coming out of it. But yeah, no, the Japanese have a very, very like hardcore, like
honor-based system.
Very honor. Yeah, you are supposed to be honorable, and it's like they have this big thing about like your public face and your private face, and you're supposed to always be in lockstep with the society, the Japanese society. They used to if in World War II, you could see it all over the place. Like they wouldn't back down. Basically, it was that whole spirit of like they will never take us alive. You know, it was this almost like
death before dishonor.
Yeah, that very saying. In fact, in Japanese they had like a Yamato Tamashi. By the way, I'm not branding all Japanese people as bad or evil or anything. It was a long time ago. But yeah, and this was even before then. So you know, it was a dark period. But that basically exemplifies the Japanese kind of spirit. At its worst, maybe, but also at its like purest, I guess. But yeah, it does mean that basically the Japanese don't like people that are only in it for themselves. They like people that, you know, you're supposed to be in. It's supposed to be like a one for all and all for one kind of thing. Like it's a collective. You're not supposed to be an individual, and that can be bad. That can be a bad thing. Japan is not known for individuality very much, despite all the crazy anime you see. You know, it really isn't like that when you're a salary man. That, you know, because that's one of the only jobs that really gets you anywhere in Japan.
Well, that literally works you to death.
Anyway, I'm getting off topic.
Yeah, you kind of are.
He was ostracized because he basically they had the role on the Titanic of women and children only, and he basically snuck onto one of the lifeboats, naughty. And that's how he survived the sinking. And when he went to the press in Japan, because he was the only Japanese survivor, he thought that Japan would like welcome him with open arms, and he would be like a media celebrity almost, sort of like a lot of people who survive traumatic events, they become sort of like celebrities in their own right, sort of thing. It's sort of like this.
Kind of like 9/11.
It's a very strange.
It's
a very strange kind of thing, yeah. But this guy definitely didn't get the same kind of honour that the 9/11 survivors did.
Yeah.
Because the Japanese don't take kindly to what he did. So we got some spicy stuff here, though. They really tore into him. They didn't like him at all. So Hosono's grandson is Haruomi Hosono, and oh no, this is a good fact. This is a cool one. Hosono's grandson is Haruomi Hosono, the leading member of the Japanese band Yellow Magic Orchestra, and I know a few of their songs. I listen to a fair bit of Japanese music. I know Firework, that's a good song. But it's mental to think that his grandson is like a rock star in Japan. You know, that's a weird like connection.
It's a cute little factoid.
But it's awesome though. I love it. So the voyage. So during the night of the 14th, 15th of April, basically today, can you do the maths? How many years ago was that? What anniversary are we talking now? It was the 50th recently, I know that much.
of the Titanic.
No, fuck that. It reached its centenary, didn't it?
Yeah, 2012 was the 100th anniversary
Yeah,
of the
no,
Titanic.
I remember. Sorry, I'm
And 2012 was 9 years ago, so it's been 109 years.
109 years. Okay, so
was
yeah.
2012 really
So
9 years ago?
Apparently it's your bedtime.
Yeah, my phone tells me to go to bed at 11 on weekends.
So yeah, on this night, 109 years ago, he was awakened by a steward. However, he was blocked from going to Titanic's boat deck, from which lifeboats were already being launched. As a crewman assumed that he was a third-class passenger, he eventually made his way past the obstruction and made his way to the boat deck.
Just want to point out, probably a little bit of racism there.
Yes.
They probably thought he was third class because he wasn't white. It was
fucking 1912.
I know.
I'm pretty sure they didn't have like the wokeism wasn't very good. Oh, we were in the red then. Is everything fine?
Is it Gucci?
Is anybody out there?
This isn't like isn't like an end of the world broadcast.
I'm just gonna look at the drop frames. 1.8%. That's nothing. Okay.
Continue.
So he eventually made his way past the obstruction. The guards and stuff, they were watching over him. Not just him, but everyone. So he made his way to the deck, and he saw with alarm the emergency flares were already being fired. I don't know why he found this startling, because that's what you tend to do when the ships are in danger. Then again, this might have been the first cruise he ever been on. But something strikes me that he was quite sort of wealthy, so I probably assume he's been on a boat before. Nonetheless, I'm gonna skip that because it's just him saying how like, oh, it was scary. We know that. This is Wikipedia. They like to. Yeah, we're reading from Wikipedia, by the way, so this is no means like proper journalism or like history.
We could go to the original sources, but...
So Hosono saw 4 lifeboats being launched and contemplated the prospect of an imminent death. And yeah, I mean, it's kind of normal to not want to die. But I mean, he definitely took his opportunity and climbed aboard. So yeah, he watched Lifeboat 10 being loaded as an officer shouted, room for 2 more. And a man jumped aboard, another man. In the film, you can actually see this man. He's a very he looking all sort of guilty as they're lowering him down, and but he's not Asian in that film. He's played by a white dude, very scruffy looking dude.
Hollywood white.
Presumably somebody from like one of the lower decks, like the peasant class at the time. Like I said, this was 1912, so class relations were a bit screwed.
They still are.
Yeah, we're in the green. So yeah, he saw the one guy get on and he was like, okay, I don't really feel bad about this much anymore, and then he jumped on himself. So yeah. So he said, the example of the first man making a jump led me to take this last chance. So he made it aboard safely and later commented, fortunately the men in charge were taken up with something else and did not pay much attention. Besides, it was very dark, and so they would not have seen if it was a man or a woman. He could not play that shit today. Although, could he? Could he just tell the people, I'm actually a woman, and then just get lowered down anyway? I don't know. I've seen the meme. I've seen the meme where it's like men and children, women and children first, and then like the guy's like, "Did you assume my gender?" Very funny. Attack helicopter. Anyway.
Transphobes need to start acting like
they need to get more like 2 jokes. 2 jokes. That's all you got.
I wish transphobes would actually become the attack helicopters they claim to be and just fly the fuck away.
I like it. Yeah, this is like the whole guilt trip. This guy, like, I'm so guilty, Apparently he heard the screams of everyone, like, sort of wailing about in the water as the ship went down, and he kind of had a bit of a, like, oh, what have I done? So yeah, he was about 200 feet away at the time, so, like, he was a safe boy at that time, he was okay, he was alright.
He was 8.
Apparently he heard 4 distinct explosions when the ship broke up. That's cool. I mean, not for the people on it, but he described why he heard. I'm an idiot. Okay, about 8 a.m. on the 15th of April, the lifeboat's passengers were rescued from the RMS Carpathia, as we've discussed. Once aboard, Hosono slept in the smoking room, but avoided it when he could, as he was the target of jokes by the seamen. whom he called a good-for-nothing band of seamen, for whom anything I say falls on deaf ears. I don't know if racism is implied or if they just thought he was a bit of a scruffy chap, a scruffy chap.
Well, his picture doesn't look scruffy. He looks quite distinguished. So, again,
it could be wealthy.
Given the year, we can assume likely racism.
Yeah, I mean, it's not exactly like, rocket science to assume that maybe being the only Japanese person on that boat at the time, that maybe some people might have taken a shot at him. So yeah, he pushed back, showing them a bulldog tenacity. I don't know if that's his exact word for it, but okay, he eventually gained what he called a bit of respect from them. Sorry, a lot of this really isn't that important. So his return to Japan. Here's the spicy shit, guys. I'm doing this solely for 2 people. Just for you 2, because you're so special. No one's watching. Who cares?
I laugh if as soon as you said that the other person left.
Yeah, goodbye.
Just like,
goodbye. See you later. It's been nice having you. Hosono's story attracted little attention at first. He went to the offices of Mitsui in New York. Where is that? Is that like the Japanese version of Chinatown or something? Because it doesn't sound like an American town or a city.
Probably.
I mean, well, New York is the city, you know what I mean? It's like a small area. But yeah.
Actually, New York is the state and New York City is the city. Just to be clear.
I'm not good with geography. That's another thing I'm bad at. I want to die.
I know a lot of capital cities for different countries.
So from there, what?
No, I was just saying, I know a whole ass list of capital cities for a bunch of different countries, if that counts as good geography knowledge.
Yeah, I say it would. I mean, it puts you above most. So from there he travelled to San Francisco to find a ship back to Japan. A local newspaper heard of his story and dubbed him the lucky Japanese boy. How boring does that sound? That sounds fucking shit. The lucky Japanese boy.
He wasn't a boy though. He's a grown ass man.
Yeah, I just. It's a bit of a they weren't even trying. They were just like, oh wow, another Japanese guy, great.
So stunning and brave.
It should have been great because he was the only one. So they should have been like, oh wow, how the fuck did you get off that alive? You're not a woman or a child.
You're not even white.
So back in Tokyo, he was interviewed by a number of magazines and newspapers, including the daily Yomiuri Shimbun. I have not got an English translation for that, but I know Shinbun, it means paper, basically, which ran a photograph of him with his family. They always tend to go for that, and it's always the family.
Yeah, imagine dropping his family in on
They wouldn't have a picture of him with his thumbs up on the ship with loads of people drowning behind him, hey, how's it going? You alright there, bud? Nah, mind you, they wouldn't have been able to take a picture anyway for obvious reason. So, according to a 1997 article released around the time of the blockbuster film Titanic, Hosono soon found himself the target of public condemnation. He was publicly condemned in the United States. He was described as a stowaway aboard Lifeboat 10 by Archibald Gracie, who wrote a best-selling account of the disaster. While the seaman in charge of the boat, able seaman Edward Bully, or Bully, I don't know how it's one of the two, he told a US Senate inquiry that Hosono and the other men have disguised themselves as women in order to sneak aboard. This false accusation was not reported in Japan. I can hear the TERFs already, oh, there it is again. They're dressing as women. They're getting into our spaces.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I can hear them, TERF Island. They're like, not in my woods, not on my boat.
Yeah, I mean, you ain't wrong in that regard.
Okay, here comes the spicy stuff. He lost his job and was condemned as a coward by the Japanese press. Imagine losing... He was cancelled, basically.
Full on cancel culture.
Full on, cancel culture. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? The 1997 article claimed that school textbooks described him as an example of how to be dishonourable and he was denounced as immoral by a professor of ethics. Oh, sick burn. Fuck.
Imagine someone whose
Hey,
degree
Professor,
is in ethics.
It's their job to tell
that
you.
you're bad.
It's their job to tell you you're a fucking coward, and they did. Like, they assigned a special person to tell you that.
Truly.
They didn't just get anyone. They got a fucking professor of ethics. They just, it's my day at work. It's like jury duty. Today I've got to tell somebody they fucked up. Right.
Like me going into somebody's house and saying,
professor of ethics. That's incredible. A professor. I'm sure they had other shit to do, obviously, because that job sounds quite important, and it wouldn't just be reserved for a Japanese man with guilt-ridden, But yeah, that's pretty intense. When someone's job description is like that, it's almost tailored specifically for him. Anyway, I'll move on. Where is it? A 2007 reinvestigation by Ando Kenji, published in Shincho 45, was unable to find any such textbooks. So this is word of mouth. But I mean, it's believable. Japan are very known to be societally quite rigid, as I explained earlier. In any case, he was soon re-employed by the ministry, as he was too valuable to lose, and continued to work for it until his death in 1939. So he had a good couple of decades after the disaster. He didn't die straight away. The grief didn't seem to have hurt him too much. He seemed to have had a decent lease of life afterwards for a while. I don't know why that's particularly a relevant thing, but just worth noting. Western academics who read the 1997 article put forth various explanations why Hosono encountered such a hostile reaction. It's been said that he was seen to have betrayed the samurai spirit of self-sacrifice.
There you go.
That's what I was talking about earlier. I was talking about the World War II Yamato Tamashi thing, but yeah, I mean, it goes back way further than even that. Honor really is the thing that Japan hold most dear. Because it's ingrained in the society so much.
We're going to get into senpuku.
Well, it's... Back then, that's the kind of... Yeah, that historically is a thing.
Man literally should have just stabbed himself in the stomach and cut himself.
And a lot of them thought that was completely, logical. Yeah. And I don't know if I agree, per se, but it's a different time. I wasn't there. I can't really judge.
Did you really just rub your stomach after saying that? It was like a subliminal thing. You're like, oh...
I've got an itch, But anyway, have we
I think we've covered him thoroughly.
But yeah, he's a fascinating dude, he's I think he's a mad lad, as the kids are saying these days. Yeah, definitely mad lad.
You just posted cringe.
I think he posted cringe when he jumped on the lifeboat. Are you with me, guys? Yes.
Funny.
See, Neo, he said yes.
No, he's.
That was earlier. Fuck off.
Yeah, that was an
Don't
early,
care.
Oh my
Don't care.
God.
There's no timestamp, so I'm just going to assume that is. I win by default. Right, now we've got a special surprise. So for anyone who was bored and decided to click off, you made a mistake. Because... Hang on, do you want to do a... Come on. I am about to take the political compass test, and people are going to find out really how left-wing I am. I think that's how that works.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is going to be a doozy, because I'm not, as everyone can hear now, I get quite nervous talking publicly, even with just a stream like this. So I want to... If people who personally know me know that I'm a lot more eloquent when expressing my political beliefs and my...
She's very nuanced.
Yeah. Normally.
Your ideals.
No, the words are just coming right out of my head as soon as they enter. But yeah, let's get on with it.
Okay.
So, how do you want to start this?
So, okay.
Are we just going to burst right in, or do you want to explain my upbringing and life and whatnot? And
I really don't think we need to get that deep into it.
Not all of it. Just a basic outline of where I was and where I've come from the last 5 years politically.
The last 5
you know
years.
Me.
Okay, well, yeah, so...
You know me better, and you're better at articulating it, so...
She had a bit of an edgelord phase.
Some say I'd still do.
Well, I mean, She had a bit of a more right-leaning edgelord phase, shall we say.
I was lied to.
She was. She was one of those people who got swept up. She drank the Kool-Aid. It wasn't great.
It was kind of like being like a very, very not famous Blair White sort of thing. You know, like, that's where the logical conclusion of where I was going was. I was just making excuses for people that didn't care about me, and I was too stupid to see it. And that's why I was advocating to have people that literally have never hurt me and never meant to hurt me, and I was advocating for them to have no rights.
And you've got to remember,
basically. I was really in the true scum kind of bullshit area of the internet.
Yeah. And a lot of the stuff that you were exposed to was sort of, it was seen as memeing. You know,
yeah,
it was
like
a joke.
they passed it up. Well, I mean, you see it all the time now where, oh, it's just a joke, bro. It's just a joke. And it's like, some things are, but like, I don't think you can like make jokes like that and then consider yourself impartial.
Yeah.
I don't think you can not tell a joke like that and end up looking a bit biased.
And then Charlottesville happened.
Because it's funny, really. The same people who will now counter me and say like, oh, free speech, I can say whatever I want. Let's remind you earlier of when I was talking about Prince Philip and I was making fun of him for being a corpse. I'm pretty sure they won't like those jokes and they'll want to cancel me for that. But
man's been a corpse for a long time.
yeah, well. But no, it's like free speech is a two-way street basically, and it very much annoys me. But the thing is, I used to be, in my particular sort of reactionary phase, I used to be one of the people that would have that hypocrisy about me. I would like, oh, look at what these lefties are doing. They're taking away all our rights. In the meantime, I would be basically advocating for stripping the rights of others, which is bullshit.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've done plenty of apologising, and I think I'm kind of done with apologising. So all I can really do now is act. And I every chance I get, I usually try to do the right thing. That's all you can do. Some people will say, you know, once a reactionary, always a reactionary. I don't think the world is that black and white. I think there's a lot of people...
Nuance.
You find a lot of the time some of these reactionaries, a lot of them are just kind of a bit scared. And I think further ostracization, whatever that word is, it just digs them deeper into the right wing. So I think a bit of empathy is required. Obviously not too much. You don't want to be empathetic to literal Nazis. But it's people extending the olive branch to me and telling me that, like, you can have a better world. You've just got to stop making excuses for monsters. That's what led me to basically pulling my head out of the dirt and going, oh yeah, I can. Like, you know, and it's as easy as that. And you've got to show them that. So, you know, if people kept on like just throwing insults at me and calling, you know, you're a racist, you're bigoted, and yes, I was, but that would have basically just tugged me in further. So I don't think anyone's right or wrong here. I just think there is a way to make the world a better place. And unfortunately, sometimes that's one of the ways. And people might feel a bit disgusting being more charitable to people like who I used to be. But it worked for me, so I would say for at least a small percentage of the population who are reactionary, it would work with them. I do follow Vosh, as many people... Many people have heard of Vosh. They know who Vosh is. Simping for Vosh. Yes, indeed. And yeah, like he's a good example of how you can really impact the world by not just throwing more fire on the fire that's already existing. Let's do this.
Okay,
I'm ready. I think I'm actually more relaxed now as well. So.
Okay. So there are, of course, 6 different categories in the political.
By the way, if anyone's wondering why we're not screen sharing, fuck you. That's why.
Her laptop's low-key old as balls and it can't handle it, that's why. So there are 6 different pages on the main political compass test. Each one you answer with either strongly disagree, agree, or strongly agree. So there's no area to be neutral here. You either agree or you don't.
Yeah. By the way, we have no reason for lying about any of this because we gain nothing from lying. So I will be as honest as I can be, and Dion's the one doing this test on her phone. And as soon as she's done, we will take a picture of the results, and hopefully we'll be able to screen share that.
And discuss
They will talk about some stuff and keep you entertained while I get that sorted.
Yeah.
And then we'll see where I land. I'm quite interested in it, in this myself, because some people will say I'm leftist and I'm so left-wing that I have a halo above my head and everything. But as you know, regardless of what you think, sometimes that's not really the reality around you. And leftist is quite a broad term these days. It can mean a lot of different things. There's a lot of different areas. So personally, it's not about proving it. I just want to see personally where I land because it's as simple as that.
Yeah, because reasons.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think it's quite entertaining. Some people really do get quite a kick out of watching people take these tests. I'll admit when this all was getting quite big, all these tests, I was watching various YouTubers taking them. All my favourite YouTubers. Blair did one, and she lied about it.
No surprise.
Yeah, have you heard about that? She completely lied.
Yeah, no surprise.
She is quite right wing, and she always likes to think she's a centrist, or at least centre right. But no,
she's not.
No, it's obvious that she changed. She got like some other result from somewhere, and I don't know how that all works. But I mean, Vosh did a big video about it, and from what I've seen, the evidence is quite conclusive. But yeah, I've even seen Vosh do them, and he's quite an eloquent motherfucker. So he doesn't really shut up. Like, he can, for 40 minutes, he can just waffle on, and it'd be like he's like serenading you with like a poem or something.
Yes,
it's
we
like
get. Okay,
beat poetry.
We get it. You love Vosh.
Yeah, it's
okay?
it's like political beat poetry. I love it.
Simp.
I love it. He knows how to turn a good phrase.
All right,
yeah.
so
let's go. Hit me with the hot stuff.
This first section is how you see your country and the world as a whole.
Okay,
yeah.
We're off to a great start.
Well,
eh?
Yeah, this is gonna.
I think I've already answered that question.
Yeah. Okay. So,
you know what I mean?
Question 1: if economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations.
I'm definitely on the agree side with that, because like I don't like the idea of like there being a weird future where like there's a couple of like Amazon type companies and they run everything. Like, you know,
Jeff Bezos types.
There used to be this old term like company village, where like a company would own a village and they would make the rules for everybody living in that village. And by the logical extension of that, it basically means that like in future corporations will own entire countries, and that to me is like terrifying. So if it's between a couple of megacorps owning countries or the state, much rather the state, to be honest, if I'm going to have to pick one of the two.
Okay, so
I'm very anti megacorp. So yeah, I'm very strongly agree.
Strongly. Okay, next question. I would always support my country whether it was right or wrong.
Strongly disagree.
Yeah.
Every country is capable of truly evil things and great things, but you shouldn't blindly just follow people for any old reason, regardless. I mean, personally,
critical thinking is important.
It is, because I mean, there were some Germans in World War II that would go along with the whole Nazi sort of utopia they were trying to do, but I mean, not all of them wanted that. They were just following orders because they'd rather that than a bullet in their head.
Do you know what?
Whereas personally in that situation, I know it's like one thing like saying it, that you'll like stand up and take the bullet rather than like go in and being a Nazi because your country wants you to, but I mean, I would really rather take the bullet if I had the balls to, you know what I mean? I would not want to just follow in the footsteps of my country doing some really horrific evil shit. So yeah.
Okay.
Which one's the one where everyone does good things? Again, repeat the question.
What question?
The last one you asked.
Oh, it was I'd always support my country whether it was right or wrong.
Strongly disagree.
Yeah, you already said.
Yeah, okay.
You already said. So
Sorted.
concentrate. Okay.
Am I doing well, by the way? Am I eloquent enough?
Yeah, a tiny bit of waffling, but it's to be expected.
All right.
Genuine critique. Okay, so the next question. No one chooses their country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's some people like, oh, I was born in America, and it's like, well, and?
So agree or strongly disagree? Sorry, agree or strongly agree?
I agree that it's stupid to be proud of just being born somewhere.
So.
Because you're not responsible for any of the accomplishments your country's made. You've just been born.
Mm-hmm.
You get to benefit from the things your country has achieved, whether they be good or bad. But you didn't do the work, so why should you be proud?
So, agree?
In
or
fact,
strongly agree?
when it comes to my country's personal history, I'm fucking glad I wasn't doing that shit.
Don't even get me started.
I'm glad I was born after it happened, because I would not be able to sleep at night. So, yeah.
Agree or strongly agree?
Sorry, repeat the question. I just want to make sure I've got it right, okay?
No one chooses their country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it.
Strongly agree.
Okay, next one. Oh god, I love it when they give you these questions. Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races.
Strongly disagree.
Absolutely.
Every race has its like things that other races might be better at than them, but in other areas they'll also be better than that race. So it's kind of swings and roundabouts with everyone, really. And to be honest, the more you diversify the gene pool, the more racial characteristics get passed around more, which means that we're basically, if the more we diversify the gene pool, we're going to just end up with like the best human possible, because we're going to have bits of over here, bits of over there, and collectively we are amazing. But no, I don't believe any species, any race is inherently better than the other. Yeah, species. I don't know why I said species.
Freudian slip.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that proves that I'm really racist.
No, it's just a Freudian
it's just
slip.
a weird word. But no, racism's bullshit.
Yeah.
Because, like, I mean, they say that, you know, there's this whole thing about, like, black people are not as good as smart as white people, but then, like,
it's bollocks, yeah.
Even if that was true, like, black people can outrun you, like, 5-1. You know, all the Olympic records are basically like mostly black people, and I know that that's partly because the white slavery, the slave trade kind of bred them to be ultra fast and like peak to perfection, and that's not good. But I mean, like I said, every race has like certain things that they're more adept at, just because that's where they're born and that's what they need to do in their society, culture. You know, it's all kind of intertwined.
It's not necessarily down to race. It's mostly just an individual thing. All humans
it could be
individually are adapted in different ways.
Yeah, we all adapt. But I mean, when you're born, you there's nothing that really changes except for your DNA and your hormones and your chromosomes and stuff. They'll determine some things, but other things will be stuff that you decide.
Okay, so
hormones maybe not, because you can change them, as I've done.
Case in point. Okay, so we're on a absolutely racism is bullshit side.
Definitely.
So the next question.
What kind of leftist would I be if I was
know,
like, yeah, but racism's alright, actually.
I know, like being anti-racist is like one of the core parts of being not only left, but being a decent human being. Like,
except for those purple people, they can fuck off. Yeah, joking.
Okay, the next question. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. Honestly,
it's going to be a no. I don't know why, but I mean, I get like a strong reaction of like, why should you basically unite with people that are just a bit less shit than the people you don't like in the first place, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, with the whole left-right dichotomy, is basically like you've got Nazis on one side, proper hardcore like lefty sort of tankies,
yeah,
on the other side, and then you've got the liberals in the middle. Would you find a tanky or a Nazi like befriending the liberals?
Probably
to get rid of like the other extreme? I mean, yeah, you do, because that happens a lot, but it's not very logical. I don't really find myself in any one extreme, though. I'm by no means a tanky. Yeah. And I'm not a big fan of like liberalism as a concept, but I mean, I've got friends that are considered liberal, and You know, so I mean, when it comes to befriending liberals to aid the cause, I reckon that there's an argument for it and against it because they both have their pros and cons. On one side, you don't want to like befriend them too much because then your old politics, your more radical politics, will be sidelined by them because there's more of them. They are the majority, so therefore you will be sort of like brushed under the dirt. But at the same time, if you just have this attitude where all liberals are scum and they all get the wall and the bullet in the head and the tanky approach, basically, what you end up with is just basically loads of extremes and no one's ever going to prevail. It's just going to be a mutual assured destruction sort of thing, you know? So, yeah. What was the question again? Sorry, just...
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
I would say disagree, but not very strongly, because, like I say, there are arguments for and against.
Okay, so the next one is military action that defies international law is sometimes justified.
Strongly disagree.
Yeah.
The military does things by the book, or it fucks off.
America.
None of this, like, what's it called, Blackwater, none of that. No. No, in fact, I would downsize the military if I was in control. Like, I reckon military should be for defense, not for offense. I don't like the idea of interventionism unless it's like full scale, like genocide. And even then, I reckon we should have like a very, very big book of things you should not fucking do. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's a very strong disagree from me.
Okay, so the next one. There is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. Yeah, because I mean, some people really kind of these days treat politics like it's just a bit of fun, I guess, and they forget that politics really does, as always, politics is violence. It gets people killed, and it influences and changes a lot of people's lives. So, I mean, we are basically doing that now, though. We're talking about politics, and it literally says there, category entertainment. Yeah. So we're doing it. We're doing the meme. But I think there's degrees. There is a logical point where it stops being entertaining by nature of what we're doing. So I believe up to a point that's fair, but also it can be worrying when people like lol genocide, like that's not good.
So
I would say
a soft degree.
A soft degree, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
But I mean, I do like a bit of fun in politics, but don't, because you know, politics is depressing. So sometimes you need like a bit of alleviation. That's the only way you can stay involved. Otherwise, you go insane.
Okay, so your attitudes towards the economy is the next section of the test.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
So am I going to be a free market dude, or am I going to be anti-capitalism? I mean, free gases.
Yeah. Okay, so question 1 is, people are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality.
I've had arguments with tankies about this, because they basically believe that class consciousness is the only thing that exists and racism is not a thing. Bollocks. I wonder why they'd say that.
Yeah.
Uyghur Muslims. Anyway. Luna's going to be so annoyed at me. I mean, there is an element of that, but honestly, it really depends on which society you're living in. Like, I really believe here in Britain, we've come so far with racism to the point where class really is a bigger thing than the racial problems in our country, but that doesn't mean that our racial problems suddenly have disappeared. They're still very much a thing, but I think class does basically rule everything. I mean, Prince Philip dying a couple of days ago kind of proved that race is the thing that everyone moans about all the time, and it's sort of like a ghost that hangs over our country.
I think it's important to also consider the fact that due to systemic racism, there is often a
and it's also a rigged system.
Yeah, there is also a socio-economic aspect to class. Many people who are in a lower class are people of colour. That's what I mean.
There's racial problems which mean that class and race, obviously,
they're very linked.
This word that I know that everyone talks about called intersectional, and as is the case with most politics, everything kind of is linked because that's the way that the powers that be want it. They want it as a rigged system, so that the only people who decide which class you're in just so happen to be the people that are at the top class, the highest class.
And they're normally white men.
Which is why, if you've got no fucking recourse about that, you're usually called the underclass or the working class. The working class will often vote for these pricks. They'll vote against their own interests because they think it'll get them a bit higher. They believe that I'll get a promotion if I side with the big guy.
It's what we call pick-me-ass bitch energy.
Kind of, yeah. It's kind of the male working class, well, female and male, and other. I love you, non-binary people. But yeah, it is sort of the pick-me version of all that. You'll basically like just pull the ladder up, sod the rest kind of thing. I'm gonna get mine. And you'll find out very quickly you don't. They'll just chuck you back in the dirt and go, oh yeah, cheers for the raise, guys. And that's why the working class always gets screwed. And that's why the Tories keep fucking getting in.
Because they
keep voting for them.
Obviously there isn't much leeway to be able to talk about specific countries, so I'll ask the question again and think about it in terms of the United Kingdom. The same question
you just asked?
Yeah. Can I ask it again?
So Britain exclusively.
And think about it in terms of the United Kingdom. So people are ultimately divided more by class than by nationality. How do you think that applies in our country?
It's going to be controversial, and I'm not saying racism doesn't exist, but I'm going to have a soft agree because I do believe class is an absolutely disgusting thing that's like front and center. Whereas racism, it's got this funny trick of seeming like it's far away, but it's like
not, yeah.
It's sort of like a mime artist, like. There's no glass there, but they'll make you think there is with all their funny movements. Yeah. And that's kind of what racism is. It's the mime artist frantically like running around screaming, and we know there's no fire there. That's what the people tell us. There's no fire, but there really is.
Yeah.
But you can't see it.
Yeah.
It's the magic of like the way they've built the system and yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I would soft agree.
Okay. So
with a caveat, obviously.
With a caveat, yeah. Nuance.
Indeed.
Okay, so the next question is: controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment.
No, I disagree. Like, monetary value is basically all. Money is only as valuable as the person deciding it, which again happens to be the fucking rich cunts at the top.
Yeah.
No, like, I mean, what the fuck is the point of money if nobody's working for it? If nobody can get a job, then they can't stimulate the economy that is needed to keep money as a concept. So
a soft disagree
capitalism
or a
can't.
strong
Capitalism
disagree?
fucking crumbles if everyone's unemployed.
True.
And they don't want that. So no, I mean, if you want capitalism, you don't just inflate things more. That's what the Tories did, and it fails every time.
Yeah, it's still failing.
We just get boom bust cycles all the time. Us and America. No, we if they want their bougie system, then you want a low unemployment rate, because then you keep the deficit in control and you keep the value of money at a stable rate. I'm not in support of capitalism, but if you want to keep it stable, inflation doesn't do shit. It's like a bandage on a wound. It's not going to fix the problem. You need stitches. You want to go with unemployment.
It's like sticking a plaster on like a gash.
Here's a history lesson. Thatcher. She went straight into privatisation and inflation.
Permission while you talk about Thatcher for me to roll myself a cigarette.
Meanwhile, the unemployment rate went fucking nuts.
Okay, you were talking about Thatcher.
No, that was very short. I'm just saying that's as short as it needs to be. People know about what happened with Thatcher's government.
Okay, so are we talking a soft disagree or a strong disagree?
Sorry, you'll have to remind me of the question again. I just want to be sure.
Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment.
That's a strong disagree, because unemployment rates are far more like efficacious when it comes to the value of money, because it's all like predicated on it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, the next one is gonna be fun when it comes to my turn to answer in this test.
Oh yeah, we're doing that in
that's
a couple.
That's gonna be
next week.
A little over a week's time, yeah. So because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation.
Yeah, I strongly agree. Regulate the fuck out of them. I don't.
Do we even need to expand on
Corporate freedom? What corporate freedom? They get the freedom to have a boot up their arse.
Anybody who thinks that corporations' freedom should come before
No,
the environment
when you're playing with the lives of an entire population of people, you don't get to pull the whole I get to do what I want, you know? Like, for starters, if these people want true freedom, they can start by paying their fucking taxes.
True.
I have to pay my taxes, why can't I?
True.
You do.
True. Okay. So, next question. From each according to his ability to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea.
Do you know more about that than me? Because I've always been a bit like skeptical on that, what that actually means. I know that it gets said to me a lot by a lot of lefties, and I know that it's some sort of communist like credo.
Yeah.
Isn't it Karl Marx that
Yeah, I believe
said it? I'm not good with theory, guys. I tend to do my politics based on what I personally feel is right, and you might disagree with it, but ultimately it's based on the world I would like to see around me. To each to his ability, to each according to his needs.
Hang on. I'm just trying to find like a really nice definition for it.
Yeah.
You know, there might be people in the stream who want to know as well.
There's 3 people watching. Please, it would be very helpful if we can have like a scholar in here. Karl Marx said what? you know, each second of deadly silence is one person clicking away from watching the stream.
Well, you can talk about something while I Google. Oh my god, I can't do both.
I don't know what to talk about.
Well, just chat shit.
Has anyone played House of the Dead 2? And next time you play it, are you going to imagine Prince Philip instead of a zombie?
Okay, so apparently the principle refers to free access to and the distribution of goods, capital, and services.
Oh, the means of production.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not gonna absolutely say it with conviction because, like, I'm a bit unsure about the technical terms of it all, as you've seen. So I'm gonna do a soft agree on that because I'm kind of like, it seems good, but I don't know. I don't want to come off a bit too sort of like, let's give everything to the government.
Okay.
Because there's parts of me that are there's a little anarchist in me screaming to get out.
Same.
Yeah, there's a little libertarian as well. You know, libertarian used to actually be a leftist term. It was co-opted by the right wing.
It's a bit of a turn off.
Yeah. Don't care.
Okay, so do you want me to read it again? Or
no, I'm just soft agree.
You good with the soft agree? Okay.
If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. That's how it is.
Okay.
I don't think you can be wrong with these, but I mean, if I'm off base, then
there isn't really a right or wrong answer, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's just
maybe next time we take this test, I'll know more.
Maybe. Okay, the next one's a fun one. The freer the market, the freer the people.
Bollocks. Strongly disagree. The freer the market, the less free the people. It's actually the complete opposite. Because, I mean, Amazon piss bottles.
Did you really have to whisper that so close to the mic? It's a thing. Some ASMR.
Yeah, no, the workers are pissing in Amazon piss bottles. Well, they're pissing in bottles because they don't even have enough like time to have a break and go and have a cigarette and a shit. And I don't know, like, does that sound like freedom to you?
No.
Does that sound like no? It sounds like they're basically just worker bees, you know, work and die, and then we're the benefactors. Consume and then die. That's capitalism for you. Work, die, consume, die. So yeah.
Okay.
I think my feelings are very clear on that.
Okay, I need to say...
Thanks to Amazon for being such a great example on how fucked that system is.
Thanks to Amazon for being such a great example on many things being bad.
They're almost like a dictionary definition of liquid shit.
Okay, give me a sec. I need to just read through this one before I read it aloud because I'm dyslexic as fuck, so, like, give me a break. Oh, This one you're like. Okay.
It's me doing ASMR again.
It's a sound reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product.
It's a natural fucking thing on the planet. Why? I hate the idea of things that are natural to this planet being capitalised on. So...
Food is a human right.
Water you don't do shit to. You bottle it, done. I mean, the purification process... Are we really expected to believe that they couldn't fund that on like taxes or anything? Like, does it have to be? And plus, the plastic bottles you put it in and sell it, like that just ends up in a landfill. So
bad
environmentally, you're just creating a bigger problem. So no, fundamentally, I think that water should be free of charge forever until the planet blows up.
Okay. I just want to weigh.
up.
I just want to weigh in as quite the environmentalist and somebody who's really big on like.
There's questions about that.
I know, but just as somebody who's really big on sustainable stuff, when you buy reusable, like if you're trying to cut down on your plastic from plastic bottles, when you buy reusable water bottles, get metal ones. For the love of God, get metal ones. Because even the plastic ones only have a life of...
if you get plastic water bottles, you're a pussy.
Even the plastic ones only have a life of a couple of years before they're no longer usable because they
go
start
hard.
leaking into the water.
Go hard or go home, bitch.
So yeah, your options are you can also get ones that are wooden.
I've got some rare like Harry Potter like lenticular plastic cups.
Yeah, eventually they're not going to be usable.
They're from 2001, I think. Like, am I already fucked?
Yeah, I would recommend not using them as often as you do.
I like using them despite like what they're connected to. Anyway.
But yeah, so metal water bottles, folks. Not only do they keep your water colder for longer, but they're also just better for the environment. So. Okay.
Nice. That's praxis.
So I'll read the question again. It's a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled, branded consumer product.
Strongly agree.
Nice. Next one. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold.
Am I showing my like slightly like less left wing side there? Because I'm like, oh, should it be though? I believe that when you buy a house and you don't want just anyone coming in and smashing it up for the sake of it because they're dicks, I believe that you should have some protection over the land that you own as sorts. But I don't like the idea of just a bunch of people moving in and saying, oh, you think this is yours? Well, we've got a flag. Like, you know, that's not good. So what's up?
Nothing.
Oh, okay. So basically,
so a soft degree.
Is there a middle ground?
No, this test forces you to pick one or the other. There's no neutral option. You're
I'm
either
sorry,
a
guys.
soft degree or a soft disagree.
I'm going to be right wing and say I sort of agree. I think it depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about mass land grabs, where it's like what happened to America, and with colonialization, I don't like colonialization, but I mean, if you've got a house and you've paid like a load of money for it, then you deserve to have a secure home where you can feel safe.
This could be counteracted by having housing as a human right, though.
That's that's where the rub is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, in an ideal world, what I would want is housing to be just distributed amongst the population of the village or the town, or you know, because it's been proven that there's enough houses to house all of the homeless people around the world. It's just money that stops that land being taken advantage of, really. And in an ideal world, I'd like that to be a thing, you know. And before everyone starts and says like, oh, you're going to give the houses free to the homeless, meanwhile we've got to pay rent. No.
Yeah, your rent shouldn't exist.
We abolish landlords. We get rid of them. I can't say how because YouTube won't let me.
Also true.
Awkward. Yeah, and then we basically just everybody gets a house and a nicely sized one too. Like there's enough land on this planet for everybody to have a decent house. As for population, that always tends to level out in the end. Everyone acts like it's always gonna like get more and more and more and more. No, Mother Nature has like a great way of making sure the levels are always.
Would you like me to explain
leveled? But obviously we tend to influence that with our actions to some extent.
Okay, the concept she's talking about is known as a carrying capacity of a species. There is a certain level that a species will hit where it is no longer able to sustain itself. And so nature does what it normally does, and countermeasures will come in place in order to deal with that. It's similar to a predator-prey cycle, but yeah, every species has a carrying capacity. It will reach its limit, and then nature will take its course, and there will be ways of diminishing it.
And before anyone wonders, no, that's not coronavirus.
Although it kind of sort of is.
If you say so.
Also, climate change is exacerbating the amount of pandemics we're going to get, so be prepared for a lifetime of this.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to
Plastic bottled water is evil.
Truly.
Okay.
So we went
do
with
I change my vote then?
Well, you can change if you like.
When it comes to I'm disagreeing with that, aren't I? Because like it's
you want housing to be a human right.
I want it to be like healthcare and.
So we'll go for a soft disagree.
Most things really. I mean, there's very few
disagree.
things I think should be incentivized with some kind of trade. Really.
True.
I think most things should be. Yeah.
Okay, so a soft disagree then.
I'm strong socialism, yeah. So I would say that housing is like a thing that should be the basic human right.
Housing, food.
Should be.
water.
Shelter is in the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, quite high.
Mm-hmm.
So I reckon based on that should be quite an important thing. And if we valued humanity as much as humanity keeps on bleating on about, because we always talk about like how we're all together and we're united and we love each other and all that hippie bollocks, then we would be giving people free stuff because, I mean, what?
Why'd you call me a bellend?
Because
again?
you are a bellend. Well, you know when you love somebody and you care about them, you want them to have all their needs met, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when people have this argument of like, oh, free stuff is bad, what you're going to work for, you're going to lose motivation to do anything.
Yeah.
Not really. If you've got your needs met, all your needs met, then you're going to strive to like take advantage of that because you'll have a great life. How many people are stopped from doing like following their dreams, you know, like their big like career plan or their personal projects because like of trauma, you know, bad things that happen in the world, like a war that like makes you leave your home, like, you know what I mean? There is the argument that if anything, capitalism is the thing that holds people back. So if I had it my way, you'd have most of your needs met, if not all, and you'd have far more free time to really get to do that thing that humanity does, that innovation. You know, the human spirit has always managed to do incredible things. Like cavemen never used to really like work per se. They used to just kind of go about on their own business. And there's some things they had to do to survive, but most of it was simply just kind of, today I think I'm going to discover fire. You know what I mean?
I have a really fun factoid that I would like to introduce.
On.
So we obviously know about the discovery of the wheel by cavemen.
The wheel. By the way, Africa, they did have the wheel. Anyone who says not is a racist.
Although I am just about to say it's actually been historically revealed as of recent anthropological discoveries that it was created by a Welshman. So Wales represent. Yeah. Wales represent. We invented the wheel. Okay.
I mean, if it was ancient aliens, they would have said that it was actually like aliens who found the wheel, and like black people have never managed to do anything good because it was always aliens. Surprise, surprise. Like ancient aliens is bullshit.
I agree.
It's basically just like white supremacy, like disguised as like weird pseudoscience.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It's so bad. Okay, so next question. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to society.
I strongly agree. There's a lot of people out there that have so much money, and when they die, what do they leave? They just leave a bank vault full of money. You know what I mean? This is there's a great Enter Shikari lyric. Sometimes I wish that apples were our currency, so the hoarded millions would rot in their vault. And I reckon that's true. If Jeff Bezos, all his money was apples, he would soon fucking spend it, because like he would have no incentive to keep hold of it and hoard it. And And I reckon everyone, to be honest, I think if we had a system where like your the things you trade wouldn't be hoardable as such, people wouldn't have the incentive to fuck other people over as much.
I say we go back to the barter system.
The barter, one sheep for your goat. Yeah,
that's a nice trade.
I couldn't be a farmer. I mean,
there's
some things about capitalism I love, and we'll get onto that soon. But it's got a lot of really regrettable bad things, and that's one of the many problems it has. The fact that there's hoarders that just take it all and go, oh, I don't care about you.
Loki, do you mind if I close the window? I'm freezing.
Sorry, I was sweating a bit.
I know.
Very nervous.
I'm hella
all these scary people.
One of which
I don't
is a
know.
relative of mine.
Yeah, well, it's not really about the people watching us live. I'm thinking about all the people that will watch this afterwards. And
True.
This might get memed up to fuck because of how disastrously bad I started all this. Because it's only now that I'm kind of relaxing and getting like good at talking publicly.
Good at talking.
Yeah. Like articulating better, you know.
There you go. Okay, next question. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade, so that's like tariffs.
I'm going to need a definition. Oh, tariffs.
Yeah, it's like imposing tariffs on imports of goods and things like that.
No, because that's just bullshit economic chest beating, isn't it? That's just like, oh, you want to sell your bananas to Ipswich?
Let me find you.
Well, I'm going to make sure that it's not a good time for you.
Hang on, let me find you a full-on definition. I know it is related to like tariffs and imported goods and stuff.
Oh
okay.
Yeah, I've heard that word so much lately because of Brexit.
Yeah. Okay. So protectionism is the economic policy of restricting imports from other countries through methods such as tariffs on imported goods, import quotas, and a variety of other government regulations.
No, it goes against the basic principle of unity. Like, if you want like a world where like resources are like shared and they're all like, what's the word? Like utilitarian, not utilitarian. Yeah, utilitarian sort of like resource-based economy where nothing is wasted, everything is utilized as well as it could be. Competition is the enemy of that. You don't want corporate competition. You want everyone to get along and have the best deal possible with the resources they have. Mm-hmm. So therefore, tariffs are bullshit. Like, so it's just, again, it's some rich cunt telling you, oh, this is worth this because I said so. When there's no good reason for it.
So you're going for a strong
There's no good reason why a banana would cost like 50p in Africa, but then when it gets here, it's £1 suddenly. Like, there's no logic to it.
So you're going with a strong disagree?
Kind of, yeah. I don't know, because it fosters a bad attitude towards like unity, you know. I'm not a complete hippie, but I like the idea of people getting past all this bullshit about like, you know, because it basically is. It's like it's a country saying we're better than you. Our apples are cheaper, like, because they're just deliberately making it harder for you to take apples elsewhere, and you basically you're just robbing things from other people, whether it be food or other things. Like fuel is another thing that like tariffs are put on. And the second we crack nuclear fusion, I hope all the tariffs to go, because everyone's going to have more than enough power than they need. And there won't be any reason to go overseas bombing countries to scrape it all from the bottom of the barrel anymore, because we'll have enough to survive and there won't be any need for competition. With a bit of luck.
Okay.
I don't know.
So,
I don't like incentivizing like competition. Corporate otherwise.
Okay, so the next question is, the only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders.
Bollocks. No, I mean, sadly that is the case. That is the definition of what a company, like, that's the modus operandi of having a profit. The profit motive is you need to have more at the end of the day than you started with, and that's understandable, I guess. But no, I would like to think companies of the future, when we have a system that caters for most people's needs, and people that have more freedom and therefore are happier on average, I'd like to think companies could, rather than like performatively like, you know, spraying bullshit all over the TV about how like, oh, we support gay people but only this month, or, you know, like, hashtag Black Lives Matter, get your t-shirt now. Like, it's I would want companies to actually act and do things to actually like make the world a better place, rather than just performatively, I'm going to just repeat myself, but I've made
yeah.
the point clear.
Yeah, you waffle quite a bit sometimes.
I wouldn't, all that. It is kind of woke virtue signaling bullshit, and I'd like companies to actually, step up to the plate and do stuff, and some of them do, but it's not really. It's not very. It's kind of outweighed by the horrible, horrific shit they do, and often they'll use it to like hide the shit they do. They'll be committing some horrible, like, basically like having like sweatshops over here, and then they'll distract you by saying, oh, it's Pride Month, so here's a milkshake that's like a fucking rainbow, and you'll be distracted by that, so you won't concentrate on the sweatshops. And that, again, it's like it's a thing that corporations do to try and like lull you into a false sense of like it's not as bad as it looks, kind of thing, and bullshit.
Okay, moving on. So you're going with a strong disagree on that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Hang on, read the question again just to make sure we're on the right kind of extreme.
The social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders.
That's a strongly disagree, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's correct, sorry.
The next question. The rich are too highly taxed.
They're not high taxed enough. No, I disagree. No, they. I mean, most of them don't even pay their taxes full stop. Like, True. There's this thing about like offshore bank accounts and stuff. I mean, I think it's been proven that, and the average like single black mom living in fucking, I don't know, like Milwaukee or whatever, paid more tax in 2016 than Trump did that year. And Trump is a billionaire.
I believe it was actually a teacher. She was
a teacher?
She was a teacher, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know where she lived or what she did, but I mean, the fact that the lowest of the low paid more tax than one of the richest men in America, who was the fucking president, and even the president was able to, like, just get rid of taxes and, I don't want to pay that. And you would think if nobody would be affected by paying taxes, it would be Trump, because he probably could pay those taxes with the money he earns while taking a shit in the morning. Whereas this teacher, that would have been her entire, like, that could have been all the food that she, you know what I mean? All that tax money. She probably had her kids starving for, like, months on end because of that. Every year. Just scraping by, just enough to get you through. Meanwhile, you've got megacorps and fucking churches just skirting the law to get away with it. When you know that it wouldn't be it wouldn't hurt them. They wouldn't even notice probably, but they care enough to just pass the buck to the poor.
Next one's a fun question.
Okay.
Those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of healthcare.
There's the libertarian in me. I believe that basically everybody should have access to healthcare and decent healthcare. Like, everyone should have like your healthcare should be enough to get you through the majority of life's illnesses and complications. However, although no, actually, like in my perfect world, like, millionaires don't really exist. So like, these people, I mean, where are these people that would be able to afford a higher standard of care? Where would they be? They wouldn't be in my socialist utopia.
I think you're learning a lot about yourself tonight.
Yeah, no, I mean, in concept it sounds cool because you're saying, like, it's freedom of choice, isn't it? It's like, if somebody wants to do that, that's fine. Ultimately, nobody dies, do they? If the rich person gets like a slightly better healthcare, they get like a better chair to sit on. I don't know. I mean, they're suckers in my opinion. If you wanna pay for better healthcare rather than have it for free, like you could do, then you're one of those people who like, oh, I'm gonna go first class even though I don't need to. Yeah, like, just repeat the question again. I'll just pick one arbitrarily.
Okay, so those with the ability to pay should have access to higher standards of medical care.
I'm going to disagree on principle that, like I said, there wouldn't be people there would be no incentive to be rich enough to afford that higher standard of care because you'd have your needs met. But if we're talking purely in the system we're in now, if we had to run on capitalism for the next 100 years, then if I had to take it, what I would do is have basic healthcare free for everybody, but maybe also have like an option for people that regrettably, are a little bit better off.
I just want to say,
But that's not the ideal.
I just want to say,
that's a stepping stone.
If we have to rely on capitalism for the next century, the planet's going to end. So
yeah,
it's all irrelevant, really.
It's what I mean is it's kind of a stepping stone. It's basically the Bernie Sanders model would be to have a public option, but also have the healthcare as it exists now in America, but also have a free option for those that truly need it but can't afford it. And I would say if that's the only option, that or the disgusting healthcare America currently has, the rapacious system that exists, then I would prefer there at least being a free option for those, because otherwise you're literally, thousands of people are dying per year. I think it's like 45,000 people per year die on average because of a lack of ability to pay for healthcare.
Also, the main cause of bankruptcy in America is medical bankruptcy.
Yeah, and nowhere else in the world does that exist. There's no other country. And if anyone does have like stats on if there is a country that does also have that problem, then please share. I would love to be like corrected on that.
Right. So, next question. Governments should penalise businesses that mislead the public.
Strongly agree, yeah.
Governments should penalise themselves for misleading the public.
Although my caveat is who watches the watchers.
Well,
because we'll need to watch the government while they watch corporations. You know, that's
that just
it's a bit like neighborhood watch.
That
really.
just harkens back to a government should work for its people.
Well, a government should fear its people, not the other way around. I'll be honest with you. The government should be terrified of killing its people, or at least neglecting them to the point where they're faced with decisions they shouldn't have to make, or things they shouldn't have to face. That's the way I'd have it.
So we're going with a strongly agree.
Yes, I would say the government should be that. If they're not going to do that, then what the fuck else are they useful for, other than taking your taxes? It should be taxation and keeping an eye on the rest of the sort of social workings. You know, the motherboard of the
taxation
public,
and
basically.
Regulation.
Indeed.
Okay, so last question for this section. A genuine free market requires restrictions on the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies.
Well, that's what a free market is. The ability to just create monopolies and own everything ever.
So that's why they're saying a genuine free market requires restrictions to stop monopolies from being a thing. Because otherwise, it's not a free market.
That's the basic definition of a free market.
Yeah, because otherwise if
there's no Glass-Steagall, they can just fucking like rig the system up completely so that nobody else can ever get in.
Yeah, so
perpetual billionaires.
Yeah, so it wouldn't be a free market, yeah.
Indeed.
So you're going with a soft agree or a hard agree?
I'm going to go hard with that one because it's just the definition. It's the basic definition of that.
Okay. So I am just going to take a hot sec to roll a cigarette, but this next section is on personal social values. Things like
I can talk about that for a while.
Things like abortion and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I know on the seat of it, they all sound like they're very easy and quick to answer because I pretty much know where I stand on all of that straight away off the top of my head. But I'd like to elaborate. I'd like to, especially given my past of being a bit more reactionary, I'd like to give a bit of context as to how far I've come.
She's come a long way.
And the things I know that give me those decisions, because it's not like you change your mind just because you've got a bunch of new friends, you know. Oh, I'm a lefty now because I found Vosh. No, it's a bit more like, you know, you find things out about the world and you do research and you meet new people with new ideas, and if they make enough sense and you can see them in public and in practice, then, you know, you tend to just feel a bit of an idiot yourself, and then you reevaluate your values, and that's if you're a true Chad, you know. If you're a basic bitch, then you just carry on being a reactionary twat, because especially if you're a YouTuber and you're really popular. If you're right wing and then suddenly you realise that you might not be as right wing as you thought you were, but there's a lot of money in being a right winger, then you just carry on being a right winger. Just pretend to, you know, just carry on giving them what they want. Just you know, the arsonist. I don't know if everyone's seen that video by Philosophy Tube about the arsonist. It's a video on Steve Bannon. And it's basically that. I mean, Steve Bannon actually is like proper right wing, and he's very sincere about it. He's not joking around. But Abigail basically makes the point that a lot of YouTubers are basically just in it for the money, and some of them aren't as politically as right wing as they seem in their videos. But because the money is so good, they will do it anyway, and because it really they just don't care. But then again, there are YouTubers that truly are quite right-wing, and they don't mind telling you. It's difficult to tell, really, because everyone's an actor these days, you know.
Okay, you ready?
Oh, sorry, yeah, okay. Back on track.
Okay, so first question is abortion when the woman's life is not threatened. Can we change woman to person? Ugh.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay, so abortion when the person's life is not threatened should always be illegal.
Strongly disagree, because, I mean,
Simple.
basic autonomy is a right, and to be honest, until that baby's out of the womb, I would say that the woman's autonomy always matters more, because otherwise you get into a really like weird scenario of like you're basically putting a fetus above somebody who's already living and has autonomy. Plus, there's a lot of science that says that it's kind of late in the cycle that the fetus actually becomes like a living sentient thing.
If a fetus is a baby, then why don't pregnant women get child tax credits?
Can you?
If a fetus is a baby, then why don't pregnant people get child tax credits before it's born?
Yeah, no, that's a good thought. No, it's autonomy, and I'm not like simping for the pregnant woman. It's just that's where I feel morally comfortable. I don't feel morally comfortable with the other scenario, because that leads me to the whole. And let's be honest, a lot of the Republicans that would agree with that statement, they basically, the second the baby gets out of the womb, they basically are just like, fuck yourself, go away, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. We're not here responsible for you.
Yeah.
And it's like, so yeah, you'll agree that they've got a right to life, but then the second they get out, you're not going to give them the right to a decent life, are you? So therefore, no, I'm purely on the person's side, whether they be male, female, or whatever scenario this happens to be in.
Okay.
If they're pregnant.
Okay. Next question. All authority should be questioned.
Strongly agree. All authority, governments, political movements, even your fucking nan's sewing circle. Everyone needs to keep an eye around them to make sure they're not being led astray.
Okay. Next one. An eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth.
Strongly disagree, because it fosters this attitude of a perpetual forever war. This is exactly what got us into Iraq, because we, on a false pretense, we went and attacked a country that didn't attack us, and then they attacked us themselves, Iraq being Iraq. So then we hit them back, and before you know it, it was just an endless tit for tat of, and it just got more people killed than it needed to. One was too many. I'm not sure what the US should have done about Saudi Arabia, really, but I mean, giving them their weapons and funding them probably wasn't a good idea. But what I can say is, like, the what America did is basically that. It was the eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. You know, some people woke up on 9/11 and they just, somebody's gonna fucking die for this, and then the whole country got whipped up into a bloodthirsty furor about it. Because this is the attitude. It's basically like your anger takes over your emotions, and you become blind to any like reasonable logic. So I'm not perfect. I mean, there's been times where I've wanted to lash out back at somebody when they've called me something or they've hit me, or you know, it's kind of normal for humans to have that kind of response at times. But I think when it comes to an entire country having that response, it can be really, really horrible. So no, I disagree.
Okay. Next question. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theatres or museums that cannot survive on a commercial basis.
I'm actually, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna agree with that, because what if it's like a museum for white supremacy? It depends. This is context based, you see. Like, there are some public museums and stuff that are culturally relevant that we should invest in as a society, because those things are good and we like to have our good accomplishments displayed and celebrated where it's applicable. But also, like, if you can make a museum of anything and then force people to pay for it if they morally disagree with that thing existing, then where do you stand as a society? Where do you stand as a government? It's a bit fashy to kind of force people to pay for a museum if it's based on, like, segregation, racism, and stuff like that. Things that denigrate other people.
So,
you know? So I would, soft agree.
Okay, this is one that, again, I'm going to have fun answering. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory.
I want to be a dick and say disagree, because school is very important. I can't believe the amount of, like, arseholes basically, like, decide to take their kids out of school and educate them, like, at home because, like, religion, because loads of, like, because, you know, it could be religious reasons, it could be a thing about race, you know, he's a white kid and there's too many blacks.
Alright, I'm going to have to clarify this question for you. This is not
or
about...
it could be the gays.
This is not about personal belief. This is about the fact that they are making it absolutely mandatory that children have to be in class. It perpetuates ableism.
There is the other side of this thing, though. There is the whole, like, Trump had this thing at the end of his tenure in the White House, where he tried to basically put, like, white supremacist teaching into the curriculum. It was like the 1776 report or something, where it was supposed to put, like, a revision of history into, like, schools, so that kids would be taught that white people never did anything wrong and we were always awesome and hoorah, America, you know, that kind of crap.
No.
But yeah, I mean, that's the other end of
Again,
it. But
I'm just
explain to me the nuance. Go on.
I'm just trying to clarify. This question is not about the content of the classes.
Maybe I'm overthinking it then.
Yeah, you really are. It's not about the content of the classes. It's just...
So you want to ask what I purely think on a basic level, taking all...
Do you think classroom attendance is mandatory, and do you think it should be rewarded in the way that it is?
I guess no.
I'm just going to tell you.
If you're looking at it purely, like, on a basic level, then no. But I mean, there are caveats to be had.
I'm not with you there.
I'm gonna go with it. It depends on what's being taught, and it depends on what the alternative is for the kids. Because I don't like having a society where people aren't taught. I think everyone has a right to an education. And if you've got some arsehole parents that are gonna, like, keep you away from school because they feel that you're going to be too progressive if you go to school, or if you've got a particularly religious family, for example, and they decide that you're going to be, like, become, like, in league with Satan if you go to this particular school or whatever, then you're basically giving them the right to fuck their kids' lives up, you know, just for no good reason.
Alright, so I'm going to ask you again, schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory?
On a basic level, no. Yeah, I disagree.
Wait, no, you
agree. I
agree.
agree.
You agree.
It's difficult, really. I mean, I'm an idiot. But,
okay.
But all the stuff I said about that does still stand.
I don't even like asking this. All people have their rights, but it is better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind.
No, diversify the gene pool.
That's a disgusting question.
Diversify the gene pool. Get ideas from your local comrades, and, you know, I think, I mean, I know it sounds wokey and, like, performative, but diversity really is our strength, and that's just not to do with Canada or wherever that's been said by somebody. That is the whole world. Diversity always wins. Like, look at the royal family. They're a bunch of inbreds now, because they like to keep it all pure and with their own kind. And as soon as, like, you know, anyone who's not white comes in, they're either murdered or, like... Am I going to get in trouble for that?
I don't know. I do personally think you're waffling quite a bit, though, considering there's still 3 pages to go through.
I'm sorry.
We're 2 hours and 20 minutes in.
But yeah, look at the royal family, then look at the rest of humanity. You know, by staying all to yourselves and you know, exclusive, you get inbred. By diversifying, you get beautiful like olive skin like people and various things. I could have worded that better, but you know exactly what I mean.
Okay, so we already.
But no, I disagree with that. Yeah, I think it's good to mix. Miscegenation for the win.
Okay, so next question. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children.
Rubbish. I disagree. There's no excuse for violence.
Yeah, I don't even think we need to elaborate on that.
I'm not going to elaborate, but yeah, it's bullshit. Don't hit your kids.
Okay. Next one. Oh my god, my voice is going.
So while you ask that, I'll get you a bit of water. Just talk to the people.
Yes, please. Do you know what? I am going to expand on that previous question just for a second. There is copious amounts of psychological studies that show that spanking your children does exceedingly more harm than good. So the perpetuation, especially with like anecdotal evidence where people are like, oh well, I was spanked and I turned out fine. It's like, well, you clearly didn't turn out fine because you think that using violence against your children is a good thing.
It's like when like an abuse victim says like, oh, I made him angry, so he had to. You know, it's like, that's bullshit, and you know it. Yeah. Maybe not now, but you will in like years to come.
Yeah. Don't hate your kids. Psychology literally states that it's not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. It is natural for children to keep some secrets from their parents. This is going to require quite a lot of nuance, to be honest.
I think it's the way of the world, because kids are complicated, and there's various reasons why kids would keep secrets from their parents. It might be like a fear thing. They might realise something about themselves that they might be ostracised for by their parents. A lot of queer kids have this problem where they realise that there's something deeper about them, you know, whether they be gay, trans, bi, or pan, or whatever. You know, whatever it is, they fear the response they'll get from the ones they love, so they hide it out of that fear. So I think it's a parent's responsibility to make sure that their kids can feel the freedom of being able to tell them anything. You know you're a good parent when your child can tell you anything that they worry about or fear or anything they just want to say generally. So I don't think it's a good thing that kids hide stuff from their parents, but I definitely empathise with the fact that they do, because there's a lot of things that kids would hide from their parents for very good reasons. So, yeah. So I would, is that an agree?
Yeah, I'd say you're a soft agree.
I would agree. I'm soft agree, because it's not ideal, but it just is the way it is.
Yeah. Okay, next question. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offence.
Strongly agree. It's marijuana's never killed anybody.
True. It's actually
the money that's used to buy it has killed plenty of people due to the drug trade. It's only in existence because it's criminalized, basically, meaning that the only people that tend to make any money from it are people that generate lots of suffering because of the money that's associated with the trafficking and the distribution of such products. Mm-hmm. If the government were to just legalise cannabis, then you'd find that a lot of the criminality that goes along with that drug would just dissipate, because there'd be no reason anymore, because the black market that exists would not have any reason to exist anymore. Okay, there you go.
Okay. Next question. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs.
I disagree, because what if that student wants to aspire to be something higher than a cog in a machine? You know, what if they want to be a musician, an artist? I generally believe some people will want to be workers, and to some degree any society needs workers, so there will be some people that will have to do those jobs, or at least get any job in particular. But there needs to be also the people in a small minority in that classroom will end up being people who do other stuff that enrich our society in other ways. So I think we should celebrate that and not just have worker bees. You know, we need artists and musicians and stuff. So yeah, what is the question again?
So the prime function of schooling should be to equip future generations to find jobs.
That'll be a strong disagree, because I believe that, like I said, I'm not going to waffle.
Okay, so the next one is people with serious inheritable disabilities should not be allowed to reproduce. Again, disgusting question, I know.
I strongly disagree.
I know, the look on your face says it all. It's a horrible question.
Because again, I know it's not ideal, but like those people still have lives. They can still do stuff.
I think it's down to personal choice. Like, if it were me, I wouldn't. But I mean, we've chosen not to reproduce anyway. But does that mean that I'm going to force that on other people?
Well, there
Like,
is an
absolutely
argument.
not.
There is an argument to be made that if that person's born, they're then gonna like resent their parents for bringing them into the world when they would have rather died. But I reckon like it's very sort of like hard to. It's controversial.
But
definitely.
that brings us to the.
But then you've made that choice for them either way. So
Yeah.
what are you gonna do?
But then
if they wanted to live, but you've killed them, then you didn't give them a choice.
Mm.
And if they're born and they wanted to die, to not be born, then you've already made that choice. So
it brings us to the point.
I reckon
of
it's best to err on the side of
decriminalising suicide.
it's best to err on the side of caution, and just let them live, and then let them make their own mind up when they get to a certain age. I think that's probably the most morally positive view of it. Also, I do support legalizing suicide. I don't like the fact that there's a stigma.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't like the fact that like suicide's treated lightly and people make fun of it. But I also like the fact that it's a choice you can make, and no one should feel sorry if they want to make that choice.
Suicide is only illegal because we are considered property of the government.
If anyone's watching this and is having a bad time, please contact people. Don't do anything stupid.
Yeah.
People love you.
Yumi loves
I know I have to say that because it's, you know, it's just the right thing to do, but I mean it. I've been there.
Likewise. Okay. So the next question is, the most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline.
Rubbish. Strongly disagree. Rebellion is actually one of the best traits that a child can have.
On board, yeah.
Yeah. A child needs to have the ability to say no and yes. Otherwise you end up with children that will go along with potentially very evil people that are either going to hurt them or get them to hurt other people. So no, you want kids to be able to say no. Even if it means they're a bit naughty, it's just a necessity.
Okay, next question. There are no savage or civilized peoples. There are only different cultures.
Strongly agree. That is correct.
Absolutely.
What appears savage to us might be completely normal in their eyes, and in their eyes we might be the savages, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd like to think during the time of like when Pocahontas was that film was set, and the history behind it, I'd like to think that it's actually the Indians, the Native Americans, that thought that the Americans were insane. Like, not the Americans, you know what I mean? The people, the settlers that came over. Yeah, I'd like to think that like Pocahontas thought that these were a bunch of white honky idiots.
Okay, but coming from an objective view, they were the insane ones. They literally went over there, killed and raped people. Like,
yeah, I'd say that's pretty insane.
That's pretty. That's pretty.
I mean, if I was to go out and do that now, then I'd probably be considered insane.
Yeah. Also very illegal.
Indeed.
So okay, so that's a strong legal. Okay, next one. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support.
Strongly disagree. Usually people have a very good reason for not being able to work. Plus also, like, again, like, I actually believe automation's a great thing because it means fewer people have to work, and then, like, we don't need money as much, which scares rich people because they rely on money. So personally, I think, like, the less people working, the better. But, like, I don't want that tied to economic values because then we end up with inflation and money just tends to rule everything. So I'd say everything needs to be downgraded. But I think automation's generally a good thing. If we can keep, like, climate change within a reasonable level, then I think automation can happen. We've just got to crack the whole renewable energy thing, and then I think automation can really take hold. And it can be a good thing if people want it to be, but everyone's ruled by paper.
Okay, next one. When you are troubled, it is better not to think about it, but to keep yourself busy with more cheerful things.
Strongly disagree. People will call, say, like, what are you moaning about? You're so needy. Talk about it anyway. you at the end of the day, you have a right to speak, and unlike some other twats on YouTube that bang on about free speech but never actually like do anything substantive to actually advocate for it, I believe that it's important for anybody to basically not be afraid to speak as such, you know. This whole social pressure of like, oh, I can't say that, people will think I'm weird, or I'm gonna get fired from my job, or you know, stuff like that. It's bullshit. It's a cancer, basically. I'd like to think in a world. I mean, we were talking about suicide a minute ago. I think there'd be a lot less of that if people were a bit more free to speak without the fear of ostracization.
Totally agree.
Unless they were denigrating other people, then they deserve it. But for most things, there really doesn't need to be a stigma about these things. People are complicated, and I think we should embrace that.
Sorry. Okay, so the next one is another one that it's just uncomfy to ask. First generation immigrants can never be fully integrated in their new country.
Some of them are even more integrated than people like in the country already.
Totally
like,
agree.
look at one of my neighbours, for example. Like there's like Indians that came over from India, obviously, over here during the Windrush generation, and they've been in the country like and had kids that are younger than my neighbour now, who is white, and they're doing better than my neighbour, and they can speak English better. so they're, if anything, they're more integrated than some people born here. You know what I mean? It's. No, I reckon full integration is. I mean, to be honest, it's not completely necessary. Everyone's on about like you need to integrate, otherwise you're not one of us, and if you're not one of us, then fuck you. No, integration is good. I mean, it's got its benefits, but at the same time, like, it shouldn't be weaponized. Like you shouldn't be whipping like refugees into like a crazy like fear if they don't quite fit in, because it's just another class war basically. It's another thing where class finds its way to weaponize racism, you know.
So we're going with a strong disagree.
Yeah, I suppose.
Okay. What's good for the most successful corporations is always ultimately good for all of us.
Bollocks. Like, to be honest, a basic barometer of economic values is like the better it is for a megacorp, the worse it is for us. The less tax they pay, the more fucked we are. You know, the bigger their rule book is, the less rights the workers have. It's just, you know, the better off they are, the worse we are. Things need to be more balanced, I think. This is why I support like co-ops, because then the boss of that company is the same level as you, the worker. So you've both got a good, because they won't want to fuck themselves, would they? Like if you're the CEO of your company and you're in a co-op and you say like your lunch break is only going to be 10 minutes long, and then you realise that you have to adhere to that as well.
Yeah.
Because normally when you're a big CEO of a wealthy megacorp, your lunch break is all day. Yeah. Their lunch break is 10 minutes with a piss bottle. If you're an Amazon worker. So yeah, I mean, like, this is, yeah, any corporation that's allowed to get away with like, you know, draconian measures against their workers, it's never going to end well for the workers or the consumers, really, because then I mean, look at the sweatshops you buy when you go and buy your clothes. Like, look at the quality. Like, it's not that great, is it? It's not made by people that care about the quality, because they're people that are forced to like do horrible things just to live. You know, that's not a world I really want to live in. So no, fuck corporations.
Yeah. Okay, last one for this category. No broadcasting institution, however independent its content,
BBC,
should receive public funding.
I'm gonna go with agree, because I fucking hate the BBC at the moment. They are basically a Tory propaganda mill, and I'm forced to pay for a license to hear that shit. Like, and they've been bloviating about this Prince Philip fella for the last couple of days, and I pay for that. That comes out of my money. I could be spending that on much better things. So yeah, I mean, because I'm British, so BBC is my it's considered our sort of national sort of broadcasting company. That's kind of what it is, British.
British Broadcasting Corporation.
So they're kind of like the big one. And we're kind of pressured to get a license, and some of us do, some of us don't. But like, if we don't, then you'll know how like they're very, very like adamant about it.
Okay, so I'll read it out again just so you got a proper answer for it. No broadcasting institution, however independent in its content, should receive public funding.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. I'm going to stand on that hill.
Soft agree? Hard agree?
Soft, just because there's new ones, you know. And yeah, by that I mean if there's a fucking channel I like, then I'd like other people to pay for it. You got me. Filthy leftist. Free stuff.
Okay, so this is how you see the wider society.
Oh.
So our civil liberties are excessively curbed in the name of counter-terrorism.
I agree with that, yeah. The privacy and everything. Yeah, it's bullshit. I think Chelsea Manning, when she blew all that, and what's his name, Snowden, they exposed the fact that the government is just keeping an eye on everything and deliberately sort of. Have you ever wondered sometimes when your paperwork suddenly changes and you're like, who did that? And then you find out it's the government because they want to like influence you in some way to. It happens with targeted advertising and all sorts as well. It's like you don't really have like less privacy than they used to anyway, and people don't think it matters because you can just carry on with your day. But I mean, after years and years of it, you soon realise that you become like nothing more than a digital footprint on the internet, and the internet's like involved in everything these days. So yeah, I'd agree with that.
Soft agree, hard agree.
What's there? Sorry.
Our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counter-terrorism.
Yeah, strong agree.
God, these are wordy ass questions for my dyslexic ass. Okay. So, a significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in a democratic political system.
Sorry, could you repeat that? Sorry, I just...
So, a significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in a democratic political system.
That is some tanky bullshit. One-party systems are bullshit. No, that's totalitarianism. That's tantamount to fascism. No, you can't have a one-party state because that's like perpetual power. That's like the Nazi Funland. That's...
So we're going with a strong disagreement.
I don't care if they're the one. I don't care if it was like the one party I liked. Like if tomorrow Labour were the only party left, I would feel a bit uneasy about that because it means they could then create any policy they want. And if we voted against them, who the fuck else is going to step in? You know, it's a bad idea. You should always have at least. I reckon 2-party states are even a bad idea. I reckon 3 or 4 is a good. Because then you get more diversity, and as I said earlier, diversity is good. And people are complicated, so I think there's always going to be like, because again, you find with like how our politics are, like people aren't black and white. They will have like some things they agree with Tories on, some things they agree with Labour on, and people that are more like me will side very much in favour of one over the other because we agree like 90% of the time with the one rather than the other. But I mean, 2 parties to cater for all that is a bit stupid. I think 3 parties would be like a good way of like separating, you know, because then you've got your more like Republican right wing like party over here, your far left party, and then you've got your centrist like libertarian kind of party. So I think that caters for the whole spectrum really. So 2-party systems are bad. 1-party systems are just... That's game over. That's when you know you've lost your country.
So it's a strong disagree.
Very.
Yeah, very strong. There is no extra strong option, but strong. Okay, next one. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried.
Strongly disagree. The government will fuck with people for the tiniest of shit.
Yeah, totally.
Like they don't have any conscience really. You'll find that the more powerful people tend to get, the more they see people as just numbers on a spreadsheet. Like Amazon does this again. Like, I'm bagging on Amazon a lot tonight because
they deserve it.
But yeah, like Amazon, like they have so many workers that at this point, like I bet that they're just ticking them off as they go. Like, oh, here's 1, here's 2, and then millions and millions and millions. And yeah, I mean, I think it's well recorded, isn't it? The level of observation that Amazon workers are under. They have they aren't they strapped to these things that measure their movements, like the amount of steps they take during a delivery, and if they're not moving fast enough, they get fucking shocked or something. No, I made that last bit up, but it is pretty scary that they're monitoring their workers that closely. It's bullshit.
Okay, next one. The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes.
On a purely a level where basically it's been proven and there's no way around it not being them, and in a system where basically we would be paying for them to contribute nothing to society ever again, I would say maybe. But I'm very uneasy about it because again, violence, there's no need for violence. But then again, it is true that they have inflicted violence on another. For now, I'm going to dance on the wild side and I'm going to say agree, because there's definitely some fuckers out there that would have deserved it. You know exactly the type of people I mean. Besides, earlier I said that all landlords need to have a certain haircut. So how can I say that and then say that death penalty? I'm a bit triggered. No, I guess I'm trying to be a bit too kind to my own principles.
Okay, next one. In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded.
Bollocks. No, I'm gonna strong disagree, but I will say that sometimes having a leader makes things a bit easier. Again, that shouldn't be considered a right that people can lord over other people. It shouldn't be the only way that any system can ever work. But I have noticed it does have its benefits at times if your leader is a really good one. But the kind of person that would agree with that sentiment is the kind of person that would just not care and they want to be on top just so that they could, you know what I mean? The kind of king that would just sit there having grapes fed to him by women with big tits. I don't know. Just that kind of king where he's just an arsehole for no reason.
Okay, next one. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all.
Bollocks. Anything can be considered art. It's like beauty's in the eye of the beholder.
Art is art.
Art
totally
is just
agree.
art. There is some art out there that I wouldn't say is very good, and it's not appealing to me. But somebody else might think it's art. I mean, what do I consider art that you wouldn't like? I don't know. Glee. I like Glee. Glee's a good program.
Glee is awful.
Dion fucking hates it.
It's awful.
So I would consider that a good work of art. Dion would consider it trash.
I think it's absolutely horrible.
Yeah, that's problematic, isn't it? That I like Glee. But being gay and being born at the time I was, it's just kind of a thing that happens.
Okay, next one. In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. This requires so much context.
That's a strong disagree. I think that any effort should be made to rehabilitate people.
Does?
No, if you've got the chance to, then I reckon do it. Basically, my ultimate idea is that the death penalty should be the absolute last resort. Rehabilitation should always be a priority at first.
The next one is basically the same thing, to be honest. It is a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminals. Emphasis on the word some there.
No, I would disagree with that, because I can hear that coming out of somebody and I get a sense that they haven't even tried. It just sounds like, oh well, some of them you can't help. It's yeah, but it comes across as a bit flippant. So I know that it might seem a little bit hypocritical that I'm kind of picking different answers on the different questions, but it's the way they're worded that's kind of getting me a bit. So no, I disagree with that. I think rehabilitation is always possible. It's just how you do it. I would say a soft, because there is an element that some criminals really are far beyond gone, but far beyond return.
Okay, next one. The business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist.
Bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
It's the fruit of the... How do I say it? At the end of the day, the artist did the work. That's what I'm trying to say. The artist did the work, and you're... Like, this is basically the musician versus the versus like Sony, isn't it? You know, the music company.
Mm.
Sorry, I'm getting a bit tired now. It's quite late. So.
Yeah, well, you do talk a lot.
But yeah, I mean, it's I know it's all contracts that tie people up, but yeah, I mean, I reckon the artist is the one who should have the complete say of their work, and they should be the ones that get the fruit from it.
Going forward, you're on a 1 minute evaluation per question. Because it's like late as balls and we've still got 3 pages.
Alright. I'll be quick.
Okay, this one is so fucking simple. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers.
Bollocks. Feminism, you know, it's... Women have a right to pursue more than just motherhood. You know, that's obvious. Any person does, really. You know, no one's born and then just has to go into a specific role designed by society. Although you can make that choice if you personally want to. Next.
True. Okay. Next one. Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries.
Fuck yeah. Strongly agree.
Mm-hmm.
That one's
that's
pretty
just
much
factually correct.
Everything I said earlier explains why I agree with that.
I mean, that's just factually correct, to be honest. Okay, next one. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. So when you grow up, are you supposed to get over your stick it to the man phase?
Fuck.
Yeah, it's a quite difficult one, yeah.
I'm on both sides with that, because I'm like, on one hand, it's good to kind of grow up and realise what world you're in and try to acclimatise to it. But then on the other hand, I'm like, nah, fuck man. You want to grow up and be emboldened against the cards you're dealt. I'd say disagree. I'd say you're always supposed to remain a little bit rebellious. You're always supposed to be questioning things.
Okay, we're on the next page now. This one is on mostly religious stuff, it would seem.
Okay, well, all these are going to be like fairly obvious.
Astrology.
I am a atheist.
You're an atheist. Astrology accurately explains many things.
What is astrology? Is that the one with the stars and the star signs and the Libra? So I am therefore confident, and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Yeah.
No, it's bullshit. It's all mystical fairy dust crap. Sorry for anyone who believes that. By the way, I love you.
So I strongly disagree.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never seen. It's all like. It's like that bollocks when like somebody dies and then you know that person's like, oh, I can contact them from the other side and I can talk to them. Just give me 500 quid. And it's all bollocks.
Okay, next one. You cannot be moral without being religious.
Rubbish. Morality is not a religious concept.
If anything, it's the absolute opposite.
Yeah, like you want to tell a priest that after the shit they've covered up? Really? Do you want to tell Prince Andrew that?
Okay. This one's a slightly more complicated one. Charity is better than social security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged.
Garbage. Charity is based on like it's dependent on like whether people actually want to give or not. Whereas it's a tough one to word because everyone's got the basic like right to life. So what I'm basically saying is everyone deserves like a basic income. You know, it's kind of like where charities won't give that. I might have just painted myself into a hole politically. I am more on the side of a social safety net rather than charity. So which one would that be?
Okay, so the question was, charity is better than social security
It's
as a
not.
means of helping the
That's a soft disagree, because there is a point to be made there, but no, I don't agree that charity is better than a social safety net.
Griff.
Or a welfare program, as it's called elsewhere.
Sorry, yawning, half asleep. Okay. Some people are naturally unlucky.
Rubbish. That sounds like fairy dust, mystical crap. I don't believe in the fact that you make your own luck. I just believe that luck is like a thing that we all live on a planet, and sometimes bad things happen, sometimes good things happen. Some of it is some of it's influenced by the actions you take. Other things are influenced by the actions others take, and that's just how it kind of works. I don't really believe in like karma, or people just having like bad luck if they broke a mirror. You know, it's not really a thing. I don't think.
So, strong disagree.
Yeah, strong.
Okay.
It's.
Last one for this section.
I wonder if Taz has gone to bed at this point.
No, he messaged me
Still watching.
a couple minutes.
You mad lad.
He doesn't sleep till like 5 a.m. and then he doesn't wake up until like 2 in the afternoon.
You could be playing COD.
He doesn't really play COD anymore.
Persona then, or that other one that I can't pronounce.
Shin Megami Tensei.
That's the one. Anyway, what's the next one?
Okay, last one for this section. It is important that my child's school instills religious values.
Rubbish. That's kind of stamping all over the freedoms of people, really, forcing religion down their throat.
It's called indoctrination.
I believe in religious freedom to the degree that you should be able to worship in peace without people harming you, but you're not going to force your religion down on people's throats. You know what I mean? You any good country has freedom of religion, but also freedom from religion.
Agreed. Okay, this is the last page now.
Okay.
It's about sex.
Oh, sexy sex.
Grown up time, people. If you're not old enough.
That's embarrassing. I just did a weird like kink shame thing.
He said he's playing Gary's Mod.
I do pity you.
He's trying to get an achievement where you have to play like so many thousands of hours in like a year.
We've got your entertainment covered.
Okay, so yeah. So the first question is, sex outside of marriage is usually immoral.
Bullshit. Try it before you buy.
Definitely. Honestly. You're right.
Also, you shouldn't like always assume that you only can have sex with people you plan to marry. Some people just want to like have fun with people. There's nothing wrong with promiscuity if you're being safe. As long as you're having safe sex and you're looking after yourself, you can be as promiscuous as you want. You can have as many partners as you want, as long as you don't like hurt people's feelings. If you've got an agreement with somebody in terms of monogamy and you break that, then you're a bit of a twat, in my opinion. But otherwise, don't let moralists tell you what you can and can't do sexually.
Cool. Okay, next one. This is kind of sort of relevant to us, really. It says same sex, but I'm gonna just say queer because same sex is
go right ahead.
So, a queer couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption.
I strongly agree.
Absolutely.
They make just as good parents as anybody else.
Okay, next one. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be legal for the adult population.
I strongly agree. I use it myself.
Can confirm. Okay, next one. What goes on in a private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state.
Strongly agree.
Yeah, I really don't think the state would want to know some of the stuff that we've been up to. So. Okay, this one is funny, and I want to expand on it a little bit after.
Okay.
It's no one can feel naturally homosexual.
Well, it's not a choice, so I would err on the side of people are naturally gay.
So you're strongly disagreeing with what it says?
I believe people can be naturally gay, yeah. I mean, otherwise you're suggesting that it's a choice. Same with being trans, no one picks it, it's just something you end up finding out about yourself.
Okay, so the point
I
here...
don't know if you disagree, but...
Okay,
you know.
so the point here is that people will always say that homosexuality is unnatural, but when we consider the fact that there are also hundreds of other species that display homosexual behavior, it kind of just goes to show that it actually is natural. It occurs in nature, not just among human beings. That
supports my argument. That's a slam dunk there.
And also a great quote from Stephen Fry regarding this: "There's only one species that's homophobic."
Yeah.
So which one's natural?
There's a
or
number
not?
of species that exhibit homosexual behaviour, but there's only one species that exhibits homophobic behaviour. So which really is the normal one?
Exactly. Sorry, I just love that quote.
Yeah.
Anyway, and the very last question. These days, openness about sex has gone
Hang on,
too far.
did you cover the thing that passed in like 25 states about trans people? Or are you not talking about it?
We did briefly talk about it like a couple.
Oh yeah, we talked about talked about the treatment plan regarding trans kids. Yeah, it's disgusting.
Yeah, it's really fucked up.
Thankfully,
look how clued up he is. Aren't you proud of him?
mad lad.
Okay, so yeah, last question. These days, openness about sex has gone too far.
It's not gone far enough. I think people live in fear of like sex. Like for example, we refuse to teach kids about like safe sex. And then we wonder why there's so much like pedophilia around. It's because we don't teach kids to look for the signs of abuse. You know, they're not taught to like, you know, not answer to certain things being said to them and to recognize signs of like people taking advantage of them. And I think if we educated them about safe sex and what sex is and stuff like that, and if we stop being so fucking like prudent about it, yeah, then I think like kids would be far more well informed, meaning that there wouldn't be so many teen pregnancies or pedophilia, and the men wouldn't grow up assuming they're entitled to sex automatically just because they've grown, like their bollocks have descended, you know what I mean? So yeah, we could do far more open.
So you going for a disagree or a strong disagree?
Is a strong disagree like what it sounded like I was saying?
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
your instant reaction was, I don't think it's gone far enough.
I would say we need to be a lot more open with you know.
Okay.
That's what I mean, though. Being open about sex does not mean that we're telling kids like, "Oh, sex is wonderful. You can do this now. Look at how wonderful that is." No, it's more a case of like, obviously, if you're going to teach kids that young about sex, you need to educate them about the risks and the gravity of what you're doing when you engage in sexual contact with another person. And I don't know what Republicans are thinking if they think we're just going to teach them all the good stuff without the bad stuff, because like with anything, everything is complicated, so you'll need to explain the pros and the cons and the do's and do nots as such. And then those kids can make their own choice when they feel ready, which usually is right at the age when they start developing their puberty starts, you know, kicking in, and they start having feelings. And
there you go, that's your photo.
Is that for me?
Yeah, that's your photo. That's your compass.
Oh, nice. We're about to find out, guys.
Yep.
Keep me busy. Go on, talk to...
Okay, well, do you know what? This has got absolutely nothing of relevance to anything in the stream, but Yumi and I were having a discussion.
It's actually Facebook. I need to...
Yeah, Yumi and I were having a discussion yesterday before I got my tattoo done, because she was asking... We were talking about my brother Tez, and we ended up getting onto the topic of, oh, you know, what music does he listen to? And obviously... He mostly listens to like a bunch of gaming music. He can type in the chat what he listens to if he wants. But yeah, he mostly listens to a bunch of gaming music, and I said to her briefly, I was like, oh, you know, I've been trying to introduce him to like, you know, some of the classics, and you know, I mentioned the Linkin Park Meteora album and how it's literally the best. Honestly, personal opinion, it's the best album of all time. Now, she and I had a
strongly disagree.
She and I had a bit of a disagreement. Because she thinks that Hybrid Theory is a better album than Meteora.
It's not the best album in the world, it's just better than Meteora. Linkin Park aren't even the best band in the world. I like them, but they're not the best.
I completely fucking disagree.
I'm going to get fucking cancelled big time.
Honestly, I completely disagree.
By the way, that is surprising, my result. Sorry,
yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by it too. I did kind of like ooh. But Yeah, so obviously I agree that Hybrid Theory is an amazing album, like it's fantastic, but I just feel like the band gelled together a lot better for the Meteor album, especially Mike and Chester in terms of the bits where Mike is rapping and Chester is singing. I feel like it flowed so much better. Like Hybrid Theory is an S tier album easily, but I'm sorry, Meteora is like a triple S tier album. That's just how it is. So yeah, that's my thesis. Rory C would be impressed.
Should be on there. Hey, let's give it a sec. Just carry on talking. It should catch up.
Okay, well, what's your opinion on the discourse of Hybrid Theory versus Meteora?
Hybrid Theory is just more nostalgic to me because I grew up with it.
That's it. That's all you've got. You got no theory.
I'm a bit preoccupied with trying to get this sorted.
Yeah, she is kind of.
That is on there. It should be. What?
Confusion.
Is it doing anything on the screen?
I don't know. Ask Thierry. Ask him what he can see right now. you could just say it.
Yeah, I just cottoned on with that. I was like, oh, yes.
You don't have to type it.
This is proof that I'm not the superior race after all.
Yeah, she
oh, hang on, there it is.
Oh,
Never mind. I think we got it, guys. You're about to see.
We think it's doing the thing.
The marvels of technology. I mean, it went blank, so I assume
it's updating itself.
Yeah, it's on there apparently already.
He says I see.
We must have a lag.
Yeah, he says I see graph. Yeah.
Okay, well, just make sure. There we go. Everyone should know by now.
They can see you wiggling it around as you get in position.
So, I mean, I'm not going to say nothing. So, what does everyone else think of that? Is that alarming, do you think? Does that make you worry about me politically?
I am a little concerned about how much of a libertarian you are. I'm a tad bit concerned. I mean, you're solid in the left, which is obviously great, but you are like...
I'm not surprised. I have libertarian tendencies, you know. I'm just not a cunt about it, you know. I'm not one of them that's like, I want my guns, I want my meat, and...
You are very liberal left. I think last time I took mine, which was like well over a year ago now, so it's probably changed, to be honest. I was kind of more right here. Like basically right in the middle of the green square.
Well, this is what I consider because I'm not a big fan of authoritarianism. So, based on what people know about my disgust for like tankies, this pretty much shows you that I'm... Yeah. Because they'd be right fucking up there.
Yeah, I am absolutely more authoritative than you, that is a fact, but I wouldn't consider myself like
Well, we'll find out, because I'll keep this picture and then we'll compare them.
Yeah, we'll do a comparison, yeah. Are you surprised, though? Like,
not really, no. I thought I'd be in that general area. I thought maybe I'd be up a bit more, but no, I don't consider that like something to be worried about. If anything, I feel more self-assured, because it's kind of like... I like, as a lefty, you know, freedom is fucking great.
True.
Real freedom, not the freedom Republicans bang on about.
I'm sorry.
Actual freedom, where people get to do actual things they like without fear of persecution. And it's great, because I want that for everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course I'm not in the more authoritarian area of the left. Even if it means I'll disagree with quite a large portion of the left, it doesn't bother me because those are my principles.
So let me just go on, because sometimes they give you examples of where like famous people lie
politically. Oh yeah, go on then. Let's see where my hero Jeremy Corbyn stands.
Okay, no, we've only got like the most extreme examples here. So we've got Stalin, Gandhi, Hitler, Thatcher, and Friedman.
Thatcher was to the right of Hitler,
but not as authoritative.
Holy fuck.
That's crazy to think.
I'm glad she's dead even more now.
I think it was the anniversary of her death recently, actually.
I don't care. Right. Rotten piss.
But yeah, I was basically like a little bit more libertarian than Gandhi last time I did this, so... Either way, we're both like centered and libertarian left rather than authoritarian left.
Don't worry, we're both based. That's
true.
I'm just being sarcastic. Is there anything else we need to go over? Or we're going to start wrapping this up?
I think we'll start wrapping it up.
Because we're 3 hours in.
Yeah, we're 3 hours in, and I'm starving. Like,
okay.
It's like 1 a.m. and I'm starving.
So,
did y'all have fun?
to be honest, I opened it, so why don't you close it? We've got like 2 minutes to just kind of wrap everything up.
Okay.
Join in where appropriate.
Okay, so we hope that you enjoyed all of the absolute massive amount of different things that we covered today, because it was a bit of a hodgepodge.
Yeah, we actually wanted to do like 2 or 3 streams over the last couple of days, but like every time it came to the point, we didn't really feel like it, and it just wasn't like the right time. And as I've said from the beginning of this, as we've said, we tend to only stream when we've got a decent reason to. There's no point in streaming just for the sake of it. So I'd like to think we've managed to get everything we wanted to get done. Also, like right now, the Titanic is like half underwater. It's like it's just like it's getting to the point where like shit's getting real, you know.
Tez said very enjoy.
Very enjoy.
Yeah, as of an hour ago, the Titanic struck the iceberg.
Yeah, they will be proper like noticing the list and
Sink
is it a list or is it?
Sinkage.
I think it's only a list if it's like left or right. Leaning. I think
that.
forward and back. I don't know what it's called.
I've got no idea.
But yeah, that's what's happening right now. If you're a follower of Titanic, Honor and Glory, they do great like live streams and where they go over like far more detail than we do because they study it. They're the real Titanic geeks. So,
shall we tell
if you want to watch a really cool time lapse of the Titanic, animated in beautiful fashion,
shall we? In terms of wrapping up, shall we just briefly talk about what we think the next stream's going to be?
You can, go ahead. What I don't even know what the next stream's going to be. We've kind of done everything I wanted to do.
You wanted to do per Rangers.
Of course, we want to do your political compass test. I don't think putting Power Rangers in with that is a good idea. Yeah. I think we need to We'll just do. I think what we'll do is next time have a shorter stream. We'll just cover the usual like recent events in the news and stuff. I actually think we might. I want to talk about. You'll see in the description I left like a little thing saying like a handgun is not a taser. That's a reference to what's currently going on, where a white woman who was a cop accidentally shot a black man who she was trying to actually taser.
Her name is Kim Potter.
And she's
and the
actually...
man's name was...
Dante something?
Dante Wright.
Dante Wright, yes. And it started out as a minor infraction, actually. I think the dude was just wrong place, wrong time. As usual, these cases usually they start from really nothing and they develop into these big things. So we might want to talk about that, but that's a reference to that. All we've heard at the moment is that the woman did resign from the police force she worked at, and now she's been charged.
Yeah, so. She's been charged with second-degree manslaughter.
But yeah, we will go into that in more detail next time. Probably going into the Derek Chauvin case as well with the George Floyd murder.
Both of which
because
happened in Minneapolis.
We've both got a lot to say about that. You know, I don't like seeing like American cities in flames, but honestly, if you give people no other choice, then they will revolt.
Yeah, just stop killing black people.
Personally, I don't like it when people will say like, "Oh, the horror! They're killing, they're destroying things and they're creating havoc." And I'm like,
stop killing black people.
That started when the police shot people. That started when the black person got killed. That started when Devontae Wright got shot. That got started when, George Floyd had his neck crushed. So it's not the masses in the streets that start these things. It's always the police, and they're there usually to try and get change. And again, Ender Shikari lyrics, man. What's the one? If you keep them silent, they'll resort to violence, and that's how you criminalize change. That's basically how they like to play it, and that's the reason why usually your people of colour in America have no other choice but to riot, because fuck all, people listen to them otherwise. So I'm not a big fan of the rioting and the looting and stuff, but I mean, I can empathise with why it's gotten to that point, and I'd like it all to stop someday. You know, it'd be nice if the police could actually hold their police members accountable for once. You know, a bit of reformation maybe, a bit of defunding possibly. Yeah. But we'll talk more about that next time. We'll make it a bigger thing. We'll get Dion's political test done.
Yes.
And that should be quite surprising because I've asked Dion to be just as honest as me and to elaborate in possibly even greater detail because we'll have more time probably next time. So if it's a shorter stream, then we'll have more time to devote to just that test rather than putting it at the end. But I hope everyone's enjoyed the stream, and to those who will watch it after it's been out live, I hope it's entertaining. So you can join us next time, and yeah, we'll get around to talking about other stuff. It's not just politics. I don't like living in a world where everything's just politics. So
Why are you making everything political?
there'll be Power Rangers,
Pokemons.
Dion's got a little brother, and they're big Pokemon Pokeheads. What's the term?
Pokefans.
Pokenuts, Pokefans. That's the one. I'm big into Power Rangers, Doctor Who, and I'm quite into heavy metal music, so I'd like to delve into various types of that in future. Do like big sort of mini retrospectives, but live kind of thing. That will be organised, I promise.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess for now that's a good enough thing to hope that you will come back, I guess.
Yes.
That should be enough. I hope everyone has a great night.
Cheers, indeed.
And we will see you hopefully next week. If not, it will be soon after that.
Yeah. Right. I'm
Okay.
signing off because it's food time. Haha.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.